Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
And with us here, friend of the show, we've got the infamous, the notorious Coach Tommy Baffi. How are you this evening, Coach Tommy B?
I'm doing great. Good evening to you both. And as usual, it is a pleasure to be here. And I do understand that, as you know, this is kind of more of a special night. It's been a few years back, TJ, when you invited me to come on the show. I know I've come on so many times, and I can honestly say I'm going to be sad to see you go and leave the show. You've been great, and you've always been a good friend to me and a gentleman on the show.
Well, I appreciate it, Coach Tommy B. Thanks for coming on. For those of you who are new to the channel, you're new to the podcast, we welcome you here with open arms. This is an all Islanders podcast. It takes it's usually Saturday around 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're new to the channel, you're new to the show, the best way to support us is by subscribing on YouTube. That's to make sure you get the bing notification bell anytime we go live, and you hit the thumbs up button. It lets myself, Grumpy, and X know that you like the content that we produce, and also helps juice the algorithm. A few more pieces of housekeeping. We also do have an all sports podcast called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man that happens on Sundays between 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can find that in the link in the description below or as a featured page here on our YouTube channel. And for those of you who are new, you've never seen an episode with Coach Tommy B, Coach Tommy B has a podcast as well, or a live stream as well, and broadcast there. And he does it exclusively on the Drive for Five on the Facebook page, which I've linked in the description below. Coach Tommy B, when's the next time that you go live?
Well, we'll be doing Coach Baffi's Corner edition number 18 on Monday night, June 23rd, which will be my traditional NHL draft preview with mock drafts, mock boards, the whole thing. I have my blogger from Calgary coming on as well to do his mock draft. My good friend Randy Workman, who's an oldie in this business. So you can catch me, yes, on the Drive for Five page. I also do it on a lot of the other pages, too, a lot of the other Islander group pages. So, yeah, tune in on Monday night, June 23rd. It'll be a great show.
Let me ask you this. Can we get a sneak peek? Who are the Islanders picking, or who should they be picking number one?
I'm not going to reveal my number one overall pick, and I do think that the Islanders we would get into the combine a little bit at some point today. I think the Islanders did send some tea leaves to what they're going to do. I think there were some signs, if you follow the combine, of what they're really looking at. And I think even some of the players themselves in Saturday's interviews on the last day of the combine gave you a little hint to what they want and what they think is going to happen. Who do you gentlemen want to pick?
It's got to be Matthew Schaefer, right? Matthew Schaefer is the way to go for the first overall selection. I know there's been a lot of buzz around. We got to trade up. We got to trade up to get James Hagens. If the price is not exorbitant, sure, I've got no problem doing that. But if the asking price is a lot to move up to pick James Hagens, I may abstain from that.
You know, the thing about NHL drafts, and we haven't seen a first overall pick traded in 21 years. That's how long it's been. And when that happened, it happened in back-to-back years with the same team, the Florida Panthers, 2003, 2004. Do you know what the returns they got for falling back to 3? It was like a third-round pick and a decent prospect. That's it. That was the jump. This is not the NFL. It's not. And you know how crazy NFL trade-ups are, and the team goes up to get the quarterback, and they get 3 first-round picks in a second. That doesn't happen in the NHL. So you're hearing everybody screaming that the Islanders are going to trade back, and they're going to get Sam Dickinson with San Jose for going back one spot. Look, Sam Dickinson's ranked just as high as Matthew Schaefer, so why would San Jose even do that?
Why would they trade away a defensive prospect when that's the thing that they really need to address is defense? So no shot.
And even trading away that 2026 first-round pick to move up a spot or two with McKenna in the next draft? I don't think so.
Are people suggesting that we trade the number 1 overall pick?
This is what I'm finding out there in Islanders land, and I do think the majority of Islander fans want us to keep the pick and take Matthew Schaefer. Okay, there's a crew of them that want Michael Misa, and then you have the other crew that says let's trade back multiple times and take James Hagens, take the Long Island kid. And I happen to like the kid, and I think the kid has good composure. I think he's a mature young man, and he's playing against men, playing at Boston College. He plays with his brother. His brother is 1 year older. He's a defenseman at Boston College, Michael Hagens Jr., obviously named after the father. It's a very nice family. I have a very close friend of mine who lives next door to them, who I played hockey with for 15 years. They are a wonderful family. But it's supposed to be pick the best player.
Yeah.
Unless I get offered a package that blows me out of the water, which is what Mathieu Darche keeps saying, I'm not trading the pick. However, if you give me the Godfather reference, if you give me an offer I can't refuse, then I'll do the trade. I don't think he's lying about this, so I know guys play around. I think at the end of the day, there's no sentimentality in this. You're trying to build a great team. Now, if Utah wants to trade that number 4 pick, there's, of course, rumors about that, and it's confirmed the Islanders met with the Utah GM at the, and that they might trade and get the 4th pick. If you can make a good trade and do both, I'll take both.
Okay. I gotta stop you. Before everything totally goes off the rails here. We're already halfway down the tracks to selling the team, the property brothers. I can feel it already. Tommy, I just want to say, I like the name of it's the Drive for 5. And here's the thing: you don't need to worry about that name going out of style anytime soon. So congratulations to you for naming your podcast the Drive for 5. First off, we have already I can't tell you, we've been talking about maybe trading up with Arizona/Utah, the Mammoth, the hockey club, whatever, a few weeks ago. We've already talked about it. All of a sudden now this is getting out into the ether. Okay. Mathieu Darche, PT Darche, I call him for participation trophy Darche, not the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. He was 5th choice. Okay. So they hired him. He doesn't know what he's doing. It's pretty obvious to me he's not going to do anything. But if he did, wouldn't you think he should be talking to I just think it's kind of, and Rosner put this out there. Well, he was speaking to Bill Armstrong from the Mammoth. Okay, he should be talking to every general manager every single day trying to improve his team. I don't care that he talked with the Mammoth. Nobody knows what he talked about. He should be. I bet you talked to 100 30 general managers.
I bet you he has, just for the fact that other people welcomed him in. You call up, you're a GM, there's a new GM, you call him up, you say hello. Nice to meet you.
This thing's taking on a life of its own. I just happen to bring this up here. This is somebody else piggybacking on this. If Hagens is there at number 4, and we believe he will be, there are a few people who think the Islanders will make a play for that pick. One rumored deal will include multiple early round picks. After that, Hagens did say his dream is to win a Stanley Cup with the Islanders. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm rooting against this kid. I just am. I don't want him to be on this team. The fact that any reporter or so-called journalist would say the reason why they want him is because he says, hey, what's your selling point on James Hagens? He said he wants to win a Stanley Cup with the Islanders. What? Just stop. I can't. My head's ready to blow off my shoulder.
Look, I doubt that happens. Okay. I'm not anticipating us drafting, say, Matthew Schaefer number 1 overall, and then trading up and getting Hagens at 4. I think it's a long shot. You never say never, but it's a long shot. Okay, that it happens. I thought something in Hagens' exit interview Saturday was very telling. He was asked, of course, about the Islanders. And as you said, I want to be an Islander. I want to win a Stanley Cup. I want to play where I grew up with my friends and all the bring Hagens home thing. But without even being asked, he then went into, however, if somebody else drafts me, I'll be more than happy to play for that team and blah, 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 blah. He wasn't even asked that question. To me, that was him psychologically telling you, I don't think the Islanders are taking me. Otherwise, why say it?
I just bring Hagens home. I mean, is he in prisoner of war camp? I mean, what the hell are you talking about? The kid's been playing hockey in Boston College. He's a couple states up north. I don't know. I don't know. I'm disliking this kid a lot already.
He's a good kid. I promise you.
I don't care.
But it's the irrationality of the fan base.
Is it wrong, Tommy, for me to root for him to fail just to prove all those people who want to bring him in and not draft Matthew Schaefer? Is it wrong for me to hope this kid busts out and we get Schaefer?
Not.
Okay, good.
We all root for different things in sports for different reasons. I don't think it makes you wrong. And honestly, say he falls down to 6 to the Philadelphia Flyers. Well, there's no way in hell I'm rooting for him.
Nope.
Absolutely not. He's on the enemy.
I do find that him dropping in the draft says something.
I think so.
I mean,
think about all the guys who were consensus higher overall selections that drop in their draft class year. It's not always like, but like when you look at it, it was like Atu Ratu was a guy the year prior. He was supposed to be a top 3 guy who dropped. And what has Atu Ratu been? Maybe he's like a 3rd, maybe a 4th line center when all is said and done. Like you look at it, it's like the other guy who was Shane Wright. He was supposed to be the consensus #1 overall pick. Shane Wright this, Shane Wright that. Fell a few selections, and what has he been? He's had moments, but guys drop in their draft class year usually for a reason. They don't just drop as like, oh, it's mysteriously dropping over here. You know, they're being hypercritical of it. This is not the kid you select #1 overall. That's what I said. Like if somebody was giving a selection away, or they were working with us, and we can get rid of a Romanoff, or we can go ahead and trade a draft.
Okay, TJ's paused, which is fine. Let me ask you a question. If you were to make a trade to move up to get a Hagens, for instance, what would your dream trade scenario be?
Well, first off, the 2026 first-round pick from Colorado would have to go in that trade, #1, that we got for Callum Ritchie. Look, I mean, if Utah is doing this because they're trying to get players right now that they feel can help them, I'm going to have to offer them a couple of guys off the roster, whether it be John Gabriel Pajot or who they might be interested in. They might be interested in Alexander Romanov, which to me, go ahead. You like him? Take him. Maybe they're interested in Adam Pelech, though I don't think Pelech's going anywhere based on the combine. If they're into some of those type of players and they want to take the first, that my dream would be take a couple of my players off my roster that you think are going to help you get into the playoffs this year because you're trying to sell tickets, and take that first round pick. That would be my dream, and then I get them. And that to me is a good deal.
Do you think there's any way the Islanders should be even remotely considering moving their own first round pick in 2026?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, to me that's true. That's off the table. Totally off the table.
Off the table. I mean, look, the Rangers are in this situation right now, right? The Rangers are sitting at pick 12. They have the right to transfer that pick to the Pittsburgh Penguins or lose their pick in 2026. I bet your bottom dollar on June 25th they're transferring that pick. You cannot risk having a bad season and then say that pick won the lottery for Gavin McKenna. You may as well tear your organization down. You cannot take that chance.
I'm going to tell you something. I've been watching games with the Schaefer kid playing, every shift he plays, and I'm more impressed with him than I am with the McKenna kid. I hear people saying McKenna's generational. I look at him, I'm like, I think he's okay. I think he's pretty, and he's young. Okay, he's a boys yet. I just look at Schaefer. He's a difference maker. I'm not saying the McKenna kid can't potentially be like that, but I just love the situation. If we had #1 pick next year, you have to consider him. I just look like he's the next Connor McDavid, right? Bedard was supposed to be the next Connor McDavid. They're not. They're not. There's Connor McDavid's. There's Mario Lemieux. There's these guys for a reason. They're just generational. I don't think the McKenna kid is generational. I don't think Bedard was generational. But everybody gets that hype nowadays. I wouldn't turn him down. But I'm watching Schaefer, and I'm like, I think Michael Misa, what I've seen of him, I'm smelling something. I'm smelling a bust. I don't know why I'm smelling a bust with that kid, but I don't think he's certainly not going to be a point-a-game scorer in the NHL in the immediate future. I just don't see it.
I have Misa developing into a point-a-game player, but that's 3-4 years down the road, and I've got him being like a 35-goal, 80-point-per-season guy.
Maybe.
You take that all day. But I don't see him doing 120 points or 110 points in the NHL. He's not Connor McDavid at all. He's actually he reminds me in some ways. There's certain things about him because of his waivers release and his shot and stuff. There's some similarities to John Tavares in Michael Misa, though he's a better skater.
They were talking about his skating, and I'm like, I don't know. They make it sound like he's the fastest, one of the fastest skaters in the draft. I mean, I'm just looking at the Schaefer kid. Schaefer kid is Cale Makar to me, bigger. He's a bigger Cale Makar.
I haven't missed Scott Niedermayer.
He's pretty damn good too.
A cross between Niedermayer and Paul Coffey, because I haven't seen a guy be able to move that puck up the ice like this kid does in films and in games that I've watched him play. Because I watched him play in the junior tournament. He moves the puck like Paul Coffey does.
He's good.
Absolutely.
He's good. And he's not afraid to play defense. He's not afraid to mix it up. To me, it's a no-brainer. If you don't draft, I wouldn't. It's like when Bill Torrey would not trade Dennis Potvin, and Montreal offered him the world, and he's like, no. There's no way the Islanders can move him. This is Darche's first big decision, which says to me, okay, you're either a real general manager or you're just a paper tiger, because there's no way you should be moving him. I don't care if owner says, man, we really want that Hagens kid. You have to say, nope, that's not what's best for the team.
It's
crazy. Top-level defensemen like this are really, really hard to find.
But would you be in favor of trading back up into the first round, Grump, if the price was somewhat reasonable?
While you were doing who knows what, we talked about that.
I don't know. When did I get cut off? When did I lose connection?
We talked about that 4th overall pick, and he wanted to know what I would think is acceptable to make that trade. My 2026 first-round pick that we have for the Islanders is untouchable. It goes nowhere. Yeah. You want to take the Callum Ritchie pick we got? Fine. You want to take a player off our roster to help your team win right now, or a player off our roster and a decent prospect? I'll make the move. But you're not getting my top prospects. You're not getting my Cole Eisman. You're not getting my Callum Ritchie. You're not getting them. And I'm telling you what I'm offering. If you don't want that pick, take my 2026 first. You want Pajot? You want Romanoff? Who do you want? And I'll throw you in a Quinn Finley or a Danny Nelson. That's it.
Yeah, there's no – and I think – and at the deadline, if he doesn't move Pajot in the offseason, I don't think he's going to do anything. Honestly, I don't think he's going to do anything.
Well, I do want to ask you this, Coach Tommy B. He's been GM now for about 3 weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks. Since that time period, there's been I think a lot of questions, at least that we have asked. I kind of want to get your initial take or what your thoughts are of new, fresh GM Mathieu Darche, or as Grumpy calls him, PT Darche.
Okay. Now, first off, Mathieu Darche was somebody I wanted. I want a younger voice. I want somebody that's more with today's setup for, your scouting system, your analytics. I want a more today guy in today's full system. I do believe Darche is going to do a good job and get Bridgeport rebuilt. Bridgeport is a total blank show. I'm telling you, it's one of the worst things. I went to 3 games this year. I've never seen a disaster like that in the minor leagues. It's that bad. Mm-hmm. So just to know he's capable of doing that as a former president of hockey ops with Tampa, I want him in to fix those problems. I'm not caring about, it'd be great if the Islanders win this year, but it's not my number one thing about this season. It's about straightening out the problems with the organization and making the proper number 1 overall pick. And yes, getting a couple of these contracts gone with some picks back by the time we get through the trade deadline. Do I think he'll do most of that? Yes. Do I feel that he was put into a difficult position by Islanders ownership? The answer is 100% yes. I actually give him credit for taking the job, Grumpy, because he knows for a year he's kind of got to sit around with most of the same people, yet he still took the job. And he says, in a year, I can kind of mold the team my way.
Play a lot of pickleball.
At the end of the day, the buck stops at ownership, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
And they're at fault for this freaking situation.
Well, that's more what I'm concerned with, because that's what it shows. It's, again, we've mentioned it last show, and I'll mention it here again if you missed last show, but you're in a spot to where you let what was at the time period the current GM, Lou Lamoriello, extend both assistant GMs, his son and Steve Pellegrini. You let him extend the entire scouting staff for an additional 2 years.
I don't see what he can do.
That's what I mean. He's handcuffed.
The whole structure is in place for at least 2 more years.
Well, I think they could maybe buy out, but they're not going to buy out this year. I think everything stays exactly the same this year.
Let's say you wanted to bring somebody from Tampa, for instance.
Don't have a spot until next year, unfortunately.
Okay, well, guess what? He's going to take a job somewhere else.
Because I believe that they've got no choice but to fire Chris Lamoriello. He's the worst AHL general manager
ever
I've seen in my freaking lifetime. And I'm 55 and I've been watching this sports since I was a little kid. That's how.
Do you want to know something? He's worse than Strother Martin in Slapshot.
That's a good comparison. He's that bad. You cannot allow him to infect Bridgeport for a second longer. I get this one part. Lou doesn't leave till June 30th. Let them leave together on June 30th. I want an announcement on June 30th after the draft that Chris Lamorello, you can have your 2-year money, go on vacation. And if you want to stay here, the only thing you're doing for my organization is outside Northwell, you're going to have a shovel and a bag, and you're going to clean up the dog shit. That's the only thing you're doing on my team.
Does it bother you? Does it bother you that in Ethan Sears' last article, they asked Darche, about Mayfield, about Engvall, if they could potentially be buyout candidates, or about Duclair, and he just made it sound like it's just going to be everybody's coming back. You're not looking to buy anybody out. Anthony Duclair is great with Patrick Waugh. I find that hard to believe. I'm just flabbergasted that it seems like he has no plan to try to improve the team.
I wouldn't buy them out. You know why? Am I winning a cup in the next 2 years?
No.
So why would I want to buy them out and keep all that money on my cap?
Why would you not try to move them for anything?
I'll try to move them. I'm absolutely going to call up teams and see if there's interest. You think anybody's interested in Anthony Duclair right now after he quit on the team? Who the hell wants his 3-year contract?
I don't even want him walking through the door, though.
Thinking about this again, I'm like, it's pissing me off because I'm like, we have done everything we can to keep things as status quo as humanly possible. And as I said before, I'm not happy about it. I'm reserving judgment to see what happens at this year's trade deadline. If at this year's trade deadline, we're keeping things relatively the same and not having, and I mean massive changes, because we're making no changes this offseason. I think we all agree on that. Coach Tommy B, no changes this offseason, probably.
I'd say somebody's going to get
maybe one.
So Callum Ritchie can send at the third line.
As I say, maybe one, and then maybe moving a bottom or a seventh defenseman is the maximum I see us doing this offseason. It's just like the bare minimum, and that's nothing much for a guy who's a new general manager to make one and maybe a second ancillary move. It's not much.
Other possible move, TJ. If Alexander Romanov gets too greedy, and I've heard rumors about him being greedy right now, that could push them to trade him.
That's addition by subtraction right there.
That'd be great. That'd be celebratory. That'd be a celebratory podcast.
Realistically, if you draft Schaefer, where does that leave Romanoff?
That's my point. You
third
want Schaefer,
third pairing D-man.
Then how much you pay I know usually we give third pairing D-men 7-year contract extensions, but maybe a new general manager who's young, dumb, and bald will be different from the old dumb and bald that they had previously. And Tommy, can you take your hat off? Middle-aged, dumb, and bald. So, there's a separation between those guys is the fact that maybe he wouldn't want to sign Romanoff to, a $5 million a year contract to play the bottom pairing. And that's if you draft. The whole offseason hinges on getting it straight, getting it right at the beginning, drafting Matthew Schaefer.
On a 1-year deal is not necessarily a terrible thing. We've watched these trade deadlines. If you're the seller, you have the power right now. Yep. The sellers have the power. So this is, to me, is the key. The trade deadline is the key for the Islanders. Teams have injuries. They need players. Maybe Duclair playing well at that time, and somebody says, you know what? I'll take him off your hands. We need to fill a wing spot. Here you go. Take him. You want Mayfield's 4+ years now? Here you go. I just want the money gone.
Are you willing to eat any of the salary off of guys like Engvall or Mayfield or Duclair? Because I think
no, not Engvall.
I'm not eating salary for this reason. I'm going to take retention on $3 million contracts for 5 years and eat up a retention spot on that.
No,
you only get 3 retention spots.
Yep, I wouldn't. But like that's the thing. I think I'm not happy about the way things look right now, but this year at the deadline, if we don't make massive moves, we've got Anders Lee on an expiring deal, Jean-Gabriel Pageau on an expiring deal, and a lot of pieces who are not part of our future.
Casey.
At this year, was that?
Casey Cizikas.
Oh yeah, Casey Cizikas too. Yeah, there's a lot of those. But it's like if this year at the deadline we're not making, and I mean substantial moves, I don't know. It doesn't bode for long-term happiness, I think, with a guy like Darche, because what I don't hope, as he's mentioned before, he's like, I think this team is competitive. You don't know how much his GM speak. We're just getting used to him now. But it's just like you wonder, like, what is his actual plan? What does he want to do? Is this year just looked at as an evaluation time period? He's obviously handcuffed when it comes to his assistant GMs. He's handcuffed when it comes to his scouting staff. There's a lot of places he's handcuffed. Is he okay with that? And is he comfortable like that being a mouse? Or is he a guy who's a lion who's got to wait a year in order to start doing what he wants to do? So I think that's really the question I've got on the whole situation.
Well, I think the plan should be simple. The plan should be, I got to hit this draft. I got to hit next draft. And if I can add more picks in a very deep draft like 26, I'm stocking my cupboard. And I'm dumping as much salary as I can on players that I don't want. If I have to wait 2 years on some of the players, I understand that. But I'm going to dump as I can dump, and I'm going to add off the dump. And then as this cap gets wider and wider, I can make some big scores. That's, if you're not approaching it that way, if you're approaching that, I want to make the playoffs in 25, 26, I have to. If that's your approach with this team, then you don't care about winning a Stanley Cup. What I'm saying is an approach to win a cup 3-4 years down the road. Because that's the reality. We're not winning it in the next 2 or 3 years. So let's face reality.
It bothered me that they re-signed Kyle Palmieri.
Yeah.
And gave him no trade. And gave him no trade. He's not going to be part of the solution going forward. And all it does is let's say next year, right now, of course, is right now. But next year, the free agent class is pretty deep.
Yeah, it is.
You have $4.7 million that you cannot spend in next year's free agent bonanza. You can't do that. I don't understand. And you listen to Darche, and it's like, well, it's great to play defense, but you got to guys put the puck in the net. He had 4 goals in the last 20 games after Nelson left.
I pointed that out. I agree with you.
It bothers me. And here's the thing. That's why I feel like Darche has so far just been a rubber stamp. Oh, whatever Lou is doing.
Can we be fair about this, though? That contract was signed. I promise both of you here, and anybody who's listening to the show. Malkin went out to San Jose with Lou Lamoriello at the trade deadline, forcing the Brock Nelson trade. Nelson does not get traded if Malkin doesn't fly out with him. I'm telling you all this right now. But Malkin, for some reason, because Kyle Palmieri is a Long Island boy, and let's keep the Long Island boy here, and he wants to stay here because he lives here. So Malkin agreed with Lou on keeping Palmieri here. He was signed already, guys. That's the exact same contract I was told back at the deadline that he got. It's the same contract. He was signed. There's nothing Darche could do. It was signed.
I just don't get why. And I believe you. I believe that Lou Lamoriello never wanted to trade Brock Nelson. Never did.
Of course not.
I just don't understand why keeping a failing group together year after year after year is a smart business model. I'll never understand it.
It's why Lou's gone now.
Well, the other guys,
because it was a bad business model, and the fans started saying we're not renewing our season ticket. This is why Lou Lamoriello's gone.
That's it. The season tickets.
Season ticket holders started dropping like flies, and then they went, "Wait a minute, that's money."
When you have Mathieu Darche making phone calls to season ticket holders, that's a problem.
I like that. I didn't dislike that. I know it's just a novelty thing. No, it's like a novelty type of thing. I really didn't read too much into that. Lou did it?
No, Lou did it 7 years ago. When he first was hired, Lou called some season ticket holders. Just for the truth, he did. So maybe that's a Malkin thing.
Oh, my God.
I didn't dislike the fact that they're doing that. They're trying to get some press behind it. You know what? They're trying to get as much bang for their buck as humanly possible, and they're trying to make it a novelty. We're doing nothing over the off seasons before we won the draft lottery. They're trying to drum up some sort of interest and intrigue for a team who was, in the middle of no man's land, probably going to be drafting originally at that time period 11th or 12th, maybe 13th, wherever the heck we were. No problem with that. I am concerned, though. I share, I think, the same sentiment that Grumpy does, where it's like he did rubber stamp the Kyle Palmieri deal. He absolutely did. I know that was originally offered by Lou, but he didn't accept it.
We heard that contract was not signed until the Monday before it was announced. Yep. We heard that contract, that it was offered, but they had not signed it till the Monday before.
I was told that Lou, the Palmieri deal, the Boquist one wasn't, but I was told the Palmieri deal was signed all the way back at the deadline. It's the same deal that it was reported to, exact same deal.
I just don't understand why they wouldn't announce it.
I'll explain why. Because they didn't want it to be. We couldn't figure this out. They didn't want it to look like Lou made the deal. They wanted to make it look like, Darche's first deal, he signed Kyle Palmieri. Lou had nothing to do with this.
No one believes that. No one believes it.
Right, but that they think we're stupid.
If you were going to, if that deal was signed in April, why not announce it in April? Why do you wait? Why are you waiting till June to announce?
They were waiting. Look, I have a good inside source that there was a big push to fire Lou by a couple of very high up people in the organization. And Malcolm was stubborn on it in the beginning and then finally gave into it. That's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, I sat in a meeting recently with a couple of these high up execs and just listening to their plans. And the one thing that was not muttered to me was building for a Stanley Cup. So I opened up my mouth and I said, you're trying to come up with all these gimmicks to get people to buy season tickets. And I'm sitting next to one of my admins. And I said to them, this might be a bright idea, but how about putting a great product on the ice? How about building a team that the fans can be proud of? I was in there. I was at those games in the early 80s. The pride in Nassau Coliseum back then was something you could not believe. Loudest crowd, proudest fans, most into it. That place was incredible to go to. You remember it, Grub?
Yep, I do.
Incredible. If you build it, they will come. Build the team. Stop worrying about gimmicks.
You know, it's funny. I just watched that movie a couple of weeks ago. It makes me cry every time I watch it. And I cry now at different parts of the movie where it used to just be at the end. You know, they zoom in on Costner's face and the music starts coming up. Oh, my gosh, it's my father. But now it's like James Earl Jones. And when you watch a movie a whole bunch of times, I'm off the topic. I don't care. That's one good thing, Tommy. When I'm running this show on my own, these type of things that I'm talking about, they're going to be a regular part of the show. That much I guarantee you. Entertainment value. You see, like in the bus when they're driving, and Kevin Costner, James Earl Jones asked him, why did you not, what was the mean thing you said to your father? And he told him, said his hero was a criminal. And he says, and he did it when first time he read his book. And I never actually looked at James Earl James's face before when he told that story. And the look on his face, it's great acting, by the way. And it's like, holy shit. This guy, was crushed by hearing that something that he did had that type of emotional impact. So, like I said,
have we brought it back full circle, Grumpy, or are we just saying that to say that?
You should watch great movies because these are the type of things that you can pick up.
Yeah. Grumpy, hold on. How did that bring it full circle? What the hell were you even talking about? Did you start like spiraling someplace?
Again, when you're gone off the show, don't you worry your pretty little head about it.
I'm still here, so we got to keep saying someone on topic.
I'm still here. I'm still a tyrant.
That's right. I guess I'll be a tyrant until the end. That's fine.
Yeah. What were we talking about before then?
I don't know until you started going and you just making me yawn, putting me to sleep.
And how they view things.
Now, that's my question, Tommy. They're trying to sell new direction.
The question is, what did you think about Kevin Costner and the Field of Dreams? That was the real question. We're past that now.
Thanks for playing. We're past that. They're trying to sell new direction. I saw Ethan Sears' article 2 weeks ago. He's got a lot of work to do. They're going to have to revamp the minor league system. They're going to have to redo the scouting staff. And then not even 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, it's going to be same old, same old. I just don't feel like when Lamoriello signed all of those people to extensions, it's awful hard. And then you're saying we're keeping everybody. How can you say that the team has changed direction from what it has been the last 4 years?
You can't, but what they can say at the end of the day right now, what they can tell the fans is Lou Lamoriello is gone and Chris is gone.
We won the first overall draft pick. I don't think they're firing
and we have the first overall pick. And Lou
that's not a change in direction.
It is a change because there are things. Lou is the most restrictive, miserable human being you could ever even imagine. I don't think people know. Do you know? I'm around. The Islander staff is all dancing and happy now that he's not there because they can actually have an actual opinion and can actually work freely. They're all happy. I promise you this.
I think when you start looking at just even Islander fans online, we did the exact thing where if Lou did exactly what Darche has done this offseason, he'd be getting massacred because people are just fed up with him at that point. And it shows that, hey, we're just bringing the same cast and crew. They put a new guy in at GM where it's like, oh, I'm willing to give him a chance. Oh, okay, well, he had no other choice. Again, it resets the I think it resets the clock of anger and outrage fans develop over time when they have a lack of success. It kind of reset that clock for a lot of the people out there who listen to the show, it seems like, too.
Okay. What do you think the intelligent fan thinks about something like that? Like myself.
The intelligent fan says we have to wait really until the NHL trade deadline.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The intelligent fan can see right through that chicanery.
Lou put us in Lou put us in the position we are in. Nobody else did that, but Lou Lamoriello, and you have to say the ownership. Ownership.
I think has more to blame than Lou does at this point. They let him do it. It's like the same discussion. Like we didn't trade away John Tavares. Like John shared maybe a little bit where we can be outraged and upset with him, but it's like the general manager, Garth Snow, didn't trade him away at that time period. Now, Garth, he's over there defending himself. Oh, they said they couldn't trade him.
He only defended himself after he was off the payroll.
Yeah, of course.
Could you imagine walking, they're talking about, I predicted the day they were going to actually name the new GM, which is unbelievable, with the day they fired him. I got it on the day. But I said, could you imagine walking into interviews to learn that you can't hire anybody? Well, you want the job. We have all these contracts with full no trades and long-term deals. I mean, what general manager in their right effing mind signs Pierre Engvall to a 7-year deal with trade protection? There isn't a general manager on this planet that would do that other than one, and we had him.
That's why P.T. Darche got the job, and none of the established hockey guys, because they went in this situation like, I can't make any moves. Nope. Not doing it. That's why he got the job. It's the only reason he got the job.
Ownership obviously has to say to the guy coming in, we're not holding you responsible for the first year. We're not even considering it your fault. Take it, just sit there for a year and do the small things you can do and then start making the change. And as I said, at trade deadline, you get a lot of desperate teams. So that's when you try to take advantage and maybe be able to do a couple of things that you didn't expect to be done. And move an Adam Pelech or move a Scott Mayfield and start to free up. Because to me, the defense is the bigger problem than the forwards. I don't know if you feel the same way. The defense is atrocious. That's why Matthew Schaefer is not only the best player in this draft. If they don't draft him, they've really set this franchise back.
Yep.
Another 5 fucking years.
It's a major need. It's a major need. There's nothing. All right. Maybe George turns out to be something. Maybe.
I think he's going to be decent.
Maybe. He's still young yet.
I just think to myself, who can I'll let you finish your thought, Graham.
I just look at Pelech and Pulak for the right, and I know they're not going to do it right, but for the right deal, I'm moving them.
Oh, I am too.
I mean, Scotty Mayfield, love him. I'm moving him. There's so many guys, and you have 9 NHL-ready defensemen on this team signed. Well, maybe
there's only 3 defensemen that I'm not moving.
The only
Dobson and Matthew Schaefer. Everybody else.
Yeah, I'm just astounded that a lot of people think moving Noah Dobson is like the move you need to make. I'm like, I'm sorry. He's like the second best player on your. I'm not counting Sorokin. He's like the second best skater on your team. I mean, it's him and Barzell. I mean, Horvat is what he is. Noah Dobson had a down year last year. He's the second best player on your team. So I'm just astounded that fans would even want to move him. It boggles my mind, actually. And I'm going to say it till the day I die. His defensive inefficiencies are because of his useless partners he's been teamed up with over the years, where he tries to do too much. If you watch the subtle things he does going into corners, how he's able to maneuver his body so he doesn't get pinned, he's able to slide the puck over. Where's his partner? Oh, he's halfway up the ice stapling somebody to the boards, and it's a turnover. You put him with a solid, steady. I could see him and Schaefer being together. What a pairing!
That could be McCarr and Taves.
That's right. That's a 25, 27 minute a night pair, and you could piece it together. Does Tony D'Angelo come back? I don't know. Does Mike Riley come back? I mean, if I'm ownership, I've been critical of Mike Riley, but if you can get him a 1 year, $1 million per, he's absolutely worth having on this team as a puck moving defenseman. That's what Patrick Roy wants to do, right? The whole thing is, and you listen to Darche too. We need to get faster and younger. Well, if you're bringing everybody back, you're not getting any faster and younger. But Mike Riley can move the puck. Isaiah George can't play a lick of defense right now, but he's capable of moving the puck. He's not ready for the NHL. Okay. But then you got Pulak and Pelech. You absolutely can move those guys. Romanov, well, you know how much I love him. So bag of pucks.
I don't understand to the life of me, as somebody who played hockey for 30 years, and I've been watching this, so it's literally like 3 years old. I can't understand for the life of me how anybody can watch Alexander Romanov play and think he's good.
I don't get it.
I'm
going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Because he lays big body checks and he blocks shots. That's what he does. But he's always out of position.
Well, yeah, a lot of his blocking of shots is he's diving to get back in position because he's been burnt.
He's always out of position. Always. That's what his wife complains about too. You're in the wrong position. Says that all the time.
The telecast too, they rave over him. They love him. We speak so highly of him. And certain guys are the whipping boys. They have their biases, and it does shape, I think, the opinion of fans. I think from the standpoint of what we need, having a puck-moving defenseman of that caliber who can also be adequate or potentially above average on the defensive side, like a guy like Matthew Schaefer, that's what you need. That's how the current NHL is moving. We don't need guys as much as we like Scott Mayfield when Scott Mayfield's more of a playoff defender than anything else. You get away with a lot of holding, clutching, and grabbing that he gets penalized for in the regular season. They don't call any of that shit in the finals or in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You get away with pretty much murder, and you can be overly physical. Guys like that pan out well in the postseason, but it's like you can't have a team full of those type of guys. You need to have, a few of them, but you have to also have the back end talent that allows you to progress and to play the modern style of NHL hockey where you could lead from out back. We just don't have that really, besides maybe Dobson. I don't even think Dobson does that probably to the level that the Schaefer kid will be able to once all is said and done.
Give him Schaefer on his other pairing. He'll be so freed up.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be chasing Schaefer all over the ice.
That's right.
Yep.
Like I said, that's what people don't get. When you're saddled with a really horrific partner and you're having to cover up for their mistakes all the time, it limits what you can do. Now, here's the thing. Do I think Noah Dobson is a top 5 PP1 guy? No, he's not. But tell me Schaefer as the number 1 power play guy and Dobson as number 2 is not infinitely more successful than what we have right now.
Absolutely.
I do want to bring up the assistant coaches.
Oh, yeah.
You got what's Bennett's first name? Is it Bill Bennett? Ray Bennett. That doesn't even matter. I don't even need to know his first name. I just think that you listen to some of the Islander pundits. I use that word lightly. Oh, this guy's going to make all the difference in the world. No, he's not. I hate to tell you. You know what? He looked pretty good when you got Nathan McKinnon and Gabe Landeskog and Cale Makar and Devon Taves on your power play 1. You look pretty good. How were they in the postseason this year? They were miserable on the power play. I'm not saying that he can't coach, but it's not the coaching that's the problem with the power play. Never has been. It's the slow, stagnant passing, and that's from the players. That's a player's issue.
It's players. I also think I never saw John McClain try to change anything really. It was the same thing over and over. He might have changed the players, but it was the same rotation, the same garbage. There was never any surprise to the defense ever.
It was the same thing when Gomez was there. Who was before Gomez? It's the players. They were limited by what the players can do.
Well, you do need to do something that they don't do, and other than moving the puck fast.
But
we have to sometimes you got to take the puck at the defenseman and get him to move and get them to move out of position. We don't do that.
When was the Islanders power play at its best last year? Do you remember?
The very beginning of the year.
The first
very
5 games of the year when Anthony Duclair was on it, because he was a fast puck mover and he moved his feet. They just stand around. And it's because the players, that's what the players do. They just stand around. It's either Matty B skating around in circles, everybody else, Anders Lee standing in front of the net, Brock Nelson standing off to the side, Dobson at the point. It's the players. They need a more of an infusion of good offensive players. I want Schaefer.
If we don't draft them, I will be honestly so upset. I'm sorry. This is a defenseman that comes along twice every 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you. Twice every 10 years, you see this defenseman in the draft. If they don't take this guy, we haven't had this player since the last time we won a division, when he retired that year. That's the last time we've had this player.
Yep.
If they don't take them, they deserve to suck for the next 10 years.
Yep. I just hope ownership doesn't say, we want that Hagens kid.
If they do anything but draft Schaefer, I'm immediately very dubious of ownership. I'm dubious of everything that's going on. And I think Darche is just he's a mouse.
He's a rubber stamp.
Because he's just a mouse. So just like it's pretty obvious if that's the case. He's a guy who I think Schaefer's one we're going to select. I think that's the no-brainer. If we don't, then I'll be worried. I don't want to even explore too much of the option. I just think it's a waste of time. I just think it's so small of a chance that we don't select Schaefer. He's the no-brainer at this point. He helps the team. And I'll be honest with you, I'm okay if we send him back down to juniors next year too.
I'd want him to go to college.
I'm sorry, to college. That's correct. Sorry. I'm fine with him playing in college next year too. Is he committed someplace to play?
Not yet.
Not yet. But that's honestly, seriously, with that new rule coming in, anybody like Schaefer or Misa or any of these guys, you have nothing else to prove in the juniors. And it gets you to the NHL a year earlier by going to college for a year. You can come out the year after. The CHL was so short-sighted when it came to that. Just saying, well, no, you can't go. Well, they're going to wind up losing all their good players after their draft years. The only thing that's going to happen to them, which I just think was short-sighted on CHLs.
It was. But you know what? The United States has really got more into hockey, and they're building these programs in colleges now. The USHL is a fantastic league, so they have great competition with us. And then, of course, in Europe, they got these players playing in a great league like the Swedish Elite League or the KHL. Those are really good pro leagues. So there's a lot more competition for these players and juniors today, which is why I tell people, Michael Misa did not play against the same competition that people like Patrick Kane or Connor McDavid did. It changed.
Or John Tavares.
Or John Tavares.
Yeah. It's like when you look at the numbers, that's what it's like when you say, like, seriously, be critical and look through all of the OHL production for offensive players. It's almost astonishing how many players had what would be considered amazing season other year. It's like, man, look at this guy. He's a 1.5 a game guy. Wow, he's 1.6 points a game, and he's not an overager. How is this possible? This is not the same OHL that we've been familiar with and accustomed to, where it's defense heavy, goaltending heavy, unbelievably tough. Unbelievably tough. It's not like that anymore. And it's just like, here's the thing. If we've got the first overall pick, you got to pick the best guy available. I wouldn't be upset if we had like a Misa where it's like that was the only guy we had available. I wouldn't be upset with that selection. No. But when you have a guy like Schaefer available, he's the no-brainer. It's just that simple.
Okay. You have Schaefer's in a tier all by himself.
I think so.
And there's a big drop down to Misa. Then it's Misa, and there's a big drop to the next tier. And that's when you got your Frondels, your Dionnays, your Hagens. Those guys are all in that third tier. To me, like I said, I've been doing, and usually I do not watch a whole lot of junior hockey or the Holinka tournament or World Juniors like I have this year, because I know who we should be picking. And I've been astounded with how good that kid is. And you remember, TJ, I'm like, how the hell is this kid who's played 17 games and he's been hurt all year ranked number 1? How is it possible?
Then you watch.
We both had this. Yep, we both had the same question until you actually watch him. You saw how he played and performed. You're like, I get it. I understand.
And he's the youngest player in the draft.
Yes.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's not even going to be 18 until September.
He made the draft by 10 days.
10 days.
Otherwise, he'd be the number 2 overall pick behind McKenna in next year.
That's right.
And that's how good he is. Next year's draft is loaded.
That's why you need as many first-round picks. That's why I really don't want to trade the Colorado pick.
I don't really want to do it, but
I want to move Pajot and Lee and whatever defenseman I can at the deadline or whenever, and try to get another first-round pick, maybe a first and 2 seconds, and then you could package those up to move up. Get yourself next year 2 or 3 high-end talents. Then you can see the team. Okay, there's a future for this organization. You have your Yzerman, you have your Ritchie, you have your Schaefer, you got a couple of, 2 or 3, first round picks for next year. That's what you're looking for.
See, I see a slew of really good second line forwards in the top 10 of this draft, from Hagens to Misa to Porter Martone, who I really like, that power forward.
He's Chicago.
Yes. Frondell, who I like a lot, Frondell. Okay, and if he ever stays healthy, McQueen might be better than all of those guys. I don't know if you've got to see McQueen play. McQueen's a beast.
He's going. I have a feeling he's going to the Rangers.
He's a beast if you can keep him on the ice.
Yep.
Obviously, he had a fractured vertebrae, which is something you got to worry about. The kid's a beast. I don't know if the Rangers are keeping that pick though, because if they keep that pick, they lose the 2. I think he could be ended with Pittsburgh.
He just seems like a Ranger though, doesn't he? I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I like him a lot. I just realized there are a couple of defensemen I like a lot. I like Jackson Smith a lot. I like Radim Murter a lot. The Czechoslovakian kid who's playing here in juniors. And there are some quality players here, but there's only one guy that I see in this draft that's a bona fide top-level player, and it's Matthew Schaefer.
That's it.
I want to ask one additional question before we get to our ad read and then start jumping in some comments. Coach Tommy B, what does Mathieu Darche need to do in order for you to say, I think we're on the right track? It's early yet. We can, right? Like, people are very critical. Oh, man, how could we be so critical of him? Well, I'm going to be critical because I've got a number of shows left. I'm going to be hyper-analyzing everything and giving my early opinion, my way, way, way too early opinion. That's what I'm doing. But what does Mathieu Darche need to do for you to say, I think we've got the right GM. I think we're on the right track. What does he need to do for that?
To me, Chris Lamoriello, number 1, must be fired. You cannot let him and his stench stay around this organization. Get him out of here and hire a good person to run Bridgeport. Show us you're starting something with our developmental system now. Get Bridgeport straightened out. That's number 1. Number 2, you must draft Matthew Schaefer. Unless somebody offers you some insane thing. Okay, San Jose comes along and says, I'm going to give you Smith and our 2026 first and another second. Oh, that's a pretty big offer there now. I got a top 6 forward who's young. You're giving me a pick that I could actually win a lottery with next year and add another pick, and you give me another second, then I might make the flip. But otherwise, I'm not doing it. I'm keeping it. Got to take the all-world defenseman. And this is a small one, but I want them to trade Casey Cizikas now. The identity line is over with. Move him. There'll be a playoff team that wants him right now. It's a 3rd or 4th round pick probably, but get his money off. Get me a veteran left-handed defenseman, and maybe Mike Riley, bring him back for the year like you stated. It's not a bad – put him with Mayfield. And get –
I think Mayfield's always at his best, right?
Yeah.
It's when he has a puck mover with him.
It's not a bad idea. And get Callum Ritchie. I don't care. I don't want Ritchie down in Bridgeport while we're figuring this out. He needs to be up here learning on the 3rd line, and so I can have him ready to play the 2nd line the following year. Okay? Build up Pajot and Andersley's stock as much as possible during this season. If they have good years, we got first-round picks for both of them. That's the fact. And then I'm going to look to just get rid of one of those defensemen at the deadline. I don't care if it's Pellick, Mayfield, one of them. And here's my other one. When the deadline comes, if he doesn't get hurt this year, Varley's got to get out of here immediately at the deadline.
He'll never play hockey again. He'll never play hockey again.
He's going to be at camp.
His knee, he'll never play hockey again. Never. I'll say that about as strong as he can. He'll come out in the ice. If he does, he'll play a few games, and his knee will never be the same. Never.
The only guy saying he's coming back is Varley.
Yeah, the Islanders organization is saying he's coming back.
I think he had microfracture surgery on his knee. And for those who know that surgery, they're drilling holes in your knee trying to promote blood to help because your knee's all fucked. he'll never come back and play again.
If he had that surgery, there's no worse position in sports than being a goaltender having that surgery.
Correct.
Correct. What they do is for that surgery, people they get rid of the necrotic bone and they drill holes in it because the bone's dying.
Yeah.
And they drill holes to try to promote blood flow to that area, which should do healing. But that's still something they have not figured out.
Yeah, I've had that before. It's not you don't bounce back, especially a goalie at his age. He'll never play again. I
would think a center in football and a goalie would be the worst positions to have that surgery.
So they've got to do a good bit though for you to feel comfortable with Matthew, and I don't think those are hard asks. I don't think they're unreasonable asks, because we do need to be kind of slowly changing and migrating away from the old guard and the way we had things structured. You can't do everything all at once, but I do think this year's deadline is pertinent. They're obviously, I don't think they're doing anything this offseason for those, as I mentioned on the show last week, for those who have a thought process that we're going to be wheeling and dealing on July 1st and July 2nd. I want you to temper your expectations. We're going to be doing very little to nothing, maybe moving small pieces. And that's the extent of what we're doing early, this year's free agency.
Can I say something that I think might comfort you though a little bit? Because I really, really dug into the combine this year. The only person the Islanders met with 3 times at the combine was Matthew Schaefer.
Great. Like that.
Okay. The only other person they met with more than once was Michael Misa. They met him twice. And Matthew Schaefer's interview on Saturday, he made the statement, I want to go number 1 overall. I want to be picked by the Islanders. Those words came out of his mouth. I don't know if he would say that if the Islanders didn't give him a commitment, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Sounds like to me like they gave him a commitment.
He was the captain of the World Junior team, was he not?
Yep. Yes, he was.
I mean, so what does it tell you about his leadership qualities as well, right? I mean,
have you listened to that kid interview?
He's super mature, lost his mom, his billet mom, all within 6 months or 5 months.
And the owner of his team.
Yeah, I mean, just think about that. I mean, and the kid's got a level. You listen to him when they interviewed him at the lottery, him, Hagens, and Misa, and he took over. He dominated. To me, he was the most mature guy, and he kind of ran that interview almost. The kid is special.
And the NHL is already putting this kid's. You watched the last Stanley Cup Finals game. They're all over promoting this kid. They're promoting him as the face of the draft already before, and we're 16 days out now. They're all over this kid. And I thought Hagens did fine with this interview. I would not knock Hagens' interview. I thought Misa was very cold, tight. That worried me. I was watching the Misa interview and I'm going, I don't know if I want this. And I know the Islanders media isn't bad, but I don't know if I want that kid dealing with the media. I didn't think he was impressive at all.
He reminds me of Kako Capo. That's what he reminds me of.
San Jose is a nice place for him. There is no need.
I think that's a very good spot for him. Nobody cares about hockey there. Well, you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's California. That
a lot of the fun things to do there.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of other things.
Well, I'll put it like this. I think this year, evaluation year, this year's trade deadline is hugely important. I will say, I will fully be doubting Mathieu Darche. Again, the reason I'm saying is because I won't be on the show to talk about it then. But if we don't make moves at this year's deadline and trade players away, I don't give a shit. Even if we're in a playoff spot, thank you so much, Anders Lee. Thanks so much for being an Islander as many years as you have. We're going to give you a chance to win a Stanley Cup. This team next year has zero chance of winning a Stanley Cup. Absolutely none. It's not happening. See you later, Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Exactly as we've mentioned, that 2026 draft class is so deep.
Loaded.
It would be criminal. It would be a malpractice of a general manager for a team that doesn't have a chance to win a Stanley Cup, a legitimate chance. I'm not talking about we look like we may finish 7th or 8th and finish in a wild card spot to get curb stomped by Carolina again or whoever we be playing in the first round, Florida, whatever team it is. I cannot imagine there's a scenario where if we don't trade away pieces at the deadline, I'm happy with our GM going forward. So I think there's a few things he has to do. I'm hoping that he does them. I'm hoping he's going to lead us down the right path, but I'm a little skeptical so far of it.
I'm not skeptical. I mean, first of all, you have to be skeptical because he's so young. He's a first-time GM. If you're not, you're going to be skeptical of the first-time GM because you just don't know. It's like an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator who's never been head coach of a football team. You love him as a coordinator. Everybody thinks he's going to be great. How many of them fail when they become head coaches?
There's a lot of Mathieu Darches in the NFL scrap heap.
It happens. So you have to have doubt because he hasn't done the job yet.
Yeah.
I guess I would think that he should have done something. He's done nothing.
But did you want a recycled person to come in here that you knew what he was going to do?
I would have been buying with Kekalainen.
First, I wanted Bergevin, but then I wanted Kekalainen only because of his ability to draft and running in that small market of Columbus, where I find it laughable when Islander fans consider us a small market team. You're in freaking New York.
We're not small market.
Stop. You're not. But Kekalainen always had to move guys as soon as they started making too much money. That's not the case for this team. And I loved his ability to draft and what he did. And he laid the groundwork for Don Waddell, who came in. And, I think Don Waddell's a great general manager. But I thought for director of hockey ops and a new GM, I wanted Kekalainen. But the only way I wanted Darche is if you had somebody over the top in hockey ops. I did not want him to get both spots.
I mistakenly thought director of hockey operations and president of hockey operations were very similar roles, and they're not.
They're not.
And that's the thing. I made a mistake originally when I was talking Darche, when I was like, "Oh, director of hockey operations, great. He's doing the same thing, to a certain." But director of hockey operations, I find out after doing a little bit more digging, is like, "Oh, hey, we're making sure we've got transportation set up from point A to point B, and we've made sure we're getting the passports when we trade for a guy." It has nothing at all to do with the actual. I mean, it's more day to day, but it has nothing to do with the actual, the more, I'd say more like complex planning of the actual organization that the actual president of hockey ops does.
I think I should explain this to Islander fans. John Collins has his hands on a lot of things now.
Yep, okay? We heard that.
He has his hands on a lot of things.
Yes.
And Darche is reporting to Malkin and Collins.
That doesn't necessarily bother me, though, Tommy.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'd rather have him reporting.
Yeah.
I happen to like that.
Let me ask you this: what is there any reason why Ledecky's not included in that list?
Well, when you want somebody to go kiss the baby and shake the hands, he'll be there.
He's cheerleader. He's cheerleader.
You want to bring out Goofy and all the Mickey Mouse characters to go shake hands and take pictures?
I never like calling him Goofy. I'm sorry. I just think
I do. He's got a big smile and a wide smile. He's got a goofy smile.
I think that he's the cheerleader for the team. I don't never like the term Goofy for him. He's a cheerleader of the team. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
as an owner, I don't want anybody to be acting.
Yeah, but he's not in charge of anything.
I prefer the Ice Girls over John Ledecky.
So yeah, me too. Whose idea was it to get rid of those Ice Girls?
That was obviously that happened during the snow era, and that was more of a movement here on Long Island about well, this is not good for women. I said,
I don't care. They didn't seem like they seemed like they enjoyed it.
They're on the ice doing a job. Yeah, they're pretty girls, but they're skating on the ice doing a basic job. It's entertainment. Lots of teams have that type of entertainment. They're not hurting anybody.
No.
You just took jobs away from people. That's what you did.
That's right. Pretty girls. I'm all for pretty girls, Tommy. I don't like.
I don't need it. I don't need it Hooters or Twin Peaks or anything like that. But I know there's certain sections who do. There's a lot of those type of places. I don't need any of those restaurants or joints. But it's like if people like to do that,
but
they work there and people like to eat there.
But this way you get your jollies off and going to a hockey game instead of going to Hooters or Twin Peaks.
Everything's got to be politically correct in this state. It's so absurd. You can't do anything. People think that you're a bad person. It's so ridiculous. Just let people enjoy things. And then if you don't enjoy something, then don't take part in it.
There you go.
I do want to jump into our ad read here today, and then we're going to start getting into some comments. Today's podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. The fastest game on ice just hit another gear. Welcome to the Stanley Cup Final, where legends are made and every shift could turn the tide. And now with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can take every slap shot, breakaway, and overtime thriller to the next level. If you're new to betting on the Stanley Cup Final, don't worry. You're in for an exciting time. Getting started is a breeze. Fire up the DraftKings Sportsbook app and pick your team to win. Lock in a wager, and you're off to the races. It's fast, it's simple, and it puts you right in the middle of the action. You could join. the TJ train and say, I'm thinking Edmonton is beating the Florida Panthers. Edmonton is coming back to win the Stanley Cup Finals. That's simple. You could put a wager on it. You could say McDavid next game, he's putting up a multi-point game. You could say, I'm expecting Skinner, if he starts, to concede 3 or more goals. You could bet literally on anything you want pretty much on DraftKings. But here's the kicker for new customers who bet just $5, only $5. What is that? It's like less than a coffee. Bet just $5.
It's $5 now for a coffee.
More than that, dude. More than that. Ask the lovely Doc Page. She buys coffee's expensive, man. You will score $300 in bonus bets if you just bet $5. And if their wager hits, that's right, turn $5 into a Stanley Cup payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN. Again, that's promo code THPN to unlock $300 in bonus bets when your $5 bet wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for your gambling or for a gambling problem. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of the Boot Hill Casino and Resort. Must be 21 years or older, but age varies by jurisdiction. It's void in Ontario. Bets must win to receive the reward, and the minimum minus 500 odds are required. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms or responsible gaming,
168 hours.
168 hours. So when you bet, you get the $300. You got to bet again, Grumpy.
Wow.
Simple as that.
How many days is 168 hours?
I don't know, Grumpy. 70. It's got to be like 5 days?
It's got to be like a week.
Yeah, about a week, maybe 5, 6, 7 days.
I don't know. 24 times what is 100?
It's 7 days. It's 7 days. It's exactly 7 days.
I thought there was more than that many days in
7 days. An entire week. There's 7 days in a week.
Okay.
You get a week.
You got a week.
For terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.com/audio.
Okay.
Yes, but 7 days pretty much.
I will say when we do these ad reads, I'm going to pre-record them and I'm going to speed it up ×2 and then slide them in.
Well, I'm not sure you can do that, Grumpy. You may want to have to talk.
We're going to find out double quick, aren't we?
I guess you'd be on the naughty list. That's fine.
Anyway. It sounds like I've never been on that list before. I'm a charter member.
Dobson for Robertson, says
No.
Mr. Jansman.
No.
I think the reason why they're getting rid of Robertson too is because of the cap space issue that they want, and that's where I'm like, I don't think Dobson. I'm telling you one thing, Dobson's going to sign himself a fat deal, and he's going to get himself a $10 million a year contract.
Oh boy, I'm glad you're not going to be on the show when he signs that contract.
He's getting married this weekend too.
Oh, watch out! Hold on, maybe it is time to move him.
10.5. Now it's 10.5, baby. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? These Islander fans, they don't care. I just all the stuff that I read, they don't care about having any defensemen. They just think let's have all forwards, and you're not going to win that way, guys.
No.
It might be entertaining, but you're not winning that way.
Okay, I know Dobson had a down year last year. He's still he have 40 points again.
Yeah.
Even in bad years, the guy is at the point where he's every year, year in, year out, a 40-point a year defenseman at least. And depending on what we do as a team, our team is not offensively talented at all. It's not. If you had more offensive acumen, if we had more offensive acumen on this team and more talented players at the forward group, or if we start changing that direction, Dobson goes from a 40-point a year every year defenseman to a 50 or 60-point every single year defenseman. I mean, there's nobody complains about defensemen like that, even when they're making a handful of defensive mistakes. Nobody complains when Evan Bouchard turns over the puck 3 or 4 times that lead directly to goals against. Nobody does that when Cale Makar does it because, he puts up so many points going the other way, they're willing to overlook that. But when your offense is just anemic, the guy who's the offensive defenseman can't necessarily put up as many points as what makes the Islander fans happy.
Well, that, and it's harder for him to even outlet out of his zone when his defense partner stinks like you can't believe. They're all double teaming you.
I do want to ask.
You're right, Tommy. If you ever notice, he's always got 2 guys on him in the offensive zone.
Yes,
and here's the thing: 9 times out of 10, he makes the right play. Like I said, I don't understand the irrational hatred for Dobson by a lot of fans.
There's little things that people don't notice that people are really into hockey notice, like myself. And sometimes you blame a defenseman because he throws a puck up the boards and then they intercept it when your forward's supposed to be standing in front of that player and they're not there and they're standing behind them. That's not the defenseman's fault. That's the forward's fault.
That's right.
I almost look at that as like when you're throwing to a spot as a quarterback and your wide receiver runs the wrong route or doesn't run the route correctly and it gets intercepted. It's like everybody's pointing the finger at the quarterback, but it's like the wideout's doing the wrong thing. The forward's not doing his job. His defensive pairing partner is leaving him high to dry, which leaves him in a compromised position where it's like, oh man, Thompson, why did you make that mistake? You shouldn't even be in that spot because his other partner is the one leaving him high to dry.
How many times, TJ, have I said to while we're watching games, and I'm like, look at how smooth, look at the subtle things Dobson does retrieving a puck. And look at how he makes that right play. And then you'll see somebody flub it up, and it's like, well, Dobson, if he didn't make that pass. Like I said, it infuriates me. It's like, dude, what game are you watching?
I tell people, I go, just watch the PK. I said, when Alexander Romanov was on the PK, I would never even move the puck to the other side of the ice because he's going to screw up. His gap control's terrible. And then and he likes to stand next to the goalie too. And I'm like, well, why are you standing next to the goaltender? Let the goalie play net. You got to take out the lane.
That's the way they did in Mother Russia.
Well, it's let me ask you this. Going into next season, we don't know exactly what the team will be. Our special teams units were hideous. What reasonably do you expect could be the best result that we could see from both our power play and our penalty kill? I'm not asking for percentages. I'm asking where you think we would rank in the league. What is the most optimistic scenario we can expect from the power play and the penalty kill?
Bob Bugner is the new PK coach. How did that work in Detroit? They were bottom of the league too. I don't hate Bob Bugner. I don't hate him. He was former coach of Florida for a while and somebody else, I forget. Maybe it was San Jose for a while. I mean, it doesn't bother me. The assistant coaches don't bother me, those hires. I'm just like, it's the players. It's the players. If you're asking me that question, I still think we're going to be bottom 5 in the league in penalty kill. Remember, this is the Patrick Waugh system, okay? It's about attack. That's what he wants. Doesn't work with these players, but that's what he wants. And
it's very hard to do that on the PK. I try to explain that to people that when you're penalty killing, you have to know when to attack. It just can't be a consistent attack. You have to know when the player is in trouble for you to strip the puck. If you're over pursuing on a PK, these players will rip you to shreds.
Especially the talented ones. They'll make you look foolish.
Yep. I agree. I don't think the PK gets much better. I'm going to agree with you. I think the power play has an opportunity to take a bigger leap just because Barzell's going to be healthy.
I think into the low 20s.
Yeah, that's how I have it.
They brought back Pierre Greco, correct? As well. Yep. They brought him back, old goalie coach, and it was like the Sorokin whisperer. I think you're going to see a better year from Sorokin. I didn't think Sorokin was bad at all last year. Like some fans like to try to put blame on him.
Idiots in front of him.
I know. I'm just saying. I don't think Sorokin was poor and played poorly like some fans think. I'm happy with his performance. I think you're going to see Sorokin have a very solid year this upcoming year, and I think that in its property alone is going to help out the penalty kill immensely. I think best case scenario, we're looking maybe like middle of the pack on the PK. Oh, I really do think. I think Sorokin's that good. I really do. When he's on top of his game,
year, we wouldn't have the number 1 overall pick because we would have been in the top 5 worst teams.
Yeah.
I still think that we got the number 1 pick because they took away the All-Star game.
So what?
I do too. I find all that stuff unbelievably coincidental. It's just, and I don't believe in coincidences. So, Jason Cameron says, "Don't leave us, TJ." Thank you, Jason. I appreciate the sentiment.
I will let TJ comment in on the show. It doesn't mean we're going to pick his comment, but we will let him comment in on the show.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I'll have the ability to comment in.
But X is going to be picking the comments, so them getting read on the show probably, I don't know. Good. You should have been nicer to him when you were younger.
Well, I think the damage is done.
Tommy,
is done.
Tommy knows how to get his comments read on the show, don't you, Tommy? What do you do?
You have to be nice to him.
You got to just kiss him. Here's the thing. He doesn't have to give full out tongue kiss. Just a little smooch on X's butt, man, and that's good enough.
And what do you think about the power play? What realistically is the best result you could expect from the power play this season?
22.
That's
Okay.
about what I'd say. 21 to 23, I think, is where it will end up.
20s, yeah.
I could see the PK being 32 all over again. Maybe a little bit better, but the defense is what it is. Unless I see some shocking thing where Alexander Romanov is gone and we sign somebody like Dmitry Orlov and we shock somebody, then I can see a change. But we're still going to have the same bums playing on that bottom level. And we're still going to have, as he said, Patrick Roy thinking that attacking on the PK constantly is a good thing. You have to pick your spots to attack. You need to take away the middle zone on the PK and make them shoot from around the perimeter.
Now, the one thing in Patrick Roy's defense, when they played just the box, they got eaten alive in that too.
Because they don't put their sticks down. You're supposed to get your stick down to block the lane. They don't even drop their sticks a lot of the times. And
I think Pelech has regressed so much in the last couple of years that it's tough to have him out. He's just tough to have him out.
However, he's going to play an important role. He is an Ariata.
Oh, well, there you go.
He's going to be the mentor for Mr. Schaefer, and they're going to work out this, which is another thing that came out at the combine, that Pelech and Schaefer are working out together this summer.
I like that.
I wonder why they're working out together.
I was about to say, I can only wonder.
They're both left shot. They're both left shot defensemen.
Yep.
That's another reason. Why would you move that one? There's so few right shot defensemen who are really good in this league. Why would you move him? Just so dumb.
They're hard to find.
They are very hard to find.
One more piece of housekeeping. I forgot to mention this earlier, but hey, we're about only an hour and 20 minutes in. We will be no show this Saturday. There's no show for Saturday on Father's Day weekend. Enjoy your Father's Day weekend, ladies and gentlemen. There'll be no show this. There will be a show on Wednesday. Maybe we'll have Phil. People are asking Grumpy if we can have Phil back.
Let me tell you something. I can let people know that Phil is going to be more of a regular on the show than you think going forward.
Hold on. I wish I had a dun.
So is it going to be Sorokin bashing hour?
It doesn't matter. Me and Phil and I are entertaining together. I like Phil, and he says a lot of idiotic things, and I call him out on it. So, but I like Phil, and he's going to be a semi-regular on the show. He can't get full commitment, but he's going to be on here often. I'll just say that.
Often.
He volunteered that. I mean, he knows. I mean, people know why did we start this show, right? Why did we start this show at the beginning? It was to spend more time with TJ because he moved away. So, that's, to me, it was always about doing it with TJ. And I still don't think people even fully grasp. Matter of fact, I know they don't. It's like they don't understand how good Noah Dobson is. They have no clue. This is TJ's show. It's easy to play the fool, which I do very well on this show. But all the inner mechanical workings of the show, the social media, everything is TJ. I'm not capable of doing that. Here's the thing. We are going to give it the good old college try for certain. But this is a TJ operation. And people do not grasp how much he means to this show and the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show. I had no idea.
Absolutely. This is a lot of work to do this, man. It's not easy. I applaud TJ for his effort. I do my own. I know what it's about.
Yeah.
You've done an amazing job all these years. I'm honestly going to miss you. I hope you could, maybe from time to time, you can sneak him on as a guest host.
He says he can. Well, he can't. No. That's not something
he can do. I won't be able to, unfortunately. But yeah, it'd be nice. I'll make sure I have to communicate it through Grumpy or Phil. Who knows? I'll have to communicate through somebody on the show how things are going. But yeah, I'll miss it. That's for certain. But it's X will have to step up his game. Grumpy's got to step up his
X, game. In his defense, is starting to learn some of the hockey players' names. He's learning what icing is. He's learning offsides.
This is not the icing that we put on top of cupcakes, right?
Well, he eats the shit out of that, so he should know a lot about that. So, yeah, but that's where we are. Freedom for the Renter goes, good evening, friends. I like both assistant hires, strongest and most experienced staff the Islanders have had in a long time. Well, these are Patrick Roy hires. PT Darche had absolutely no input on this at all. Zero. Just like everything that's happened this whole season, he's had no input.
But we wanted him to let Patrick Roy make his hires. I think we would all.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure I push my narrative that he's a do-nothing empty suit at this point in time.
But remember something, that if the season goes awry, it gives Mathieu Darche his out.
I think so, yes. I think
his scapegoat becomes Patrick Roy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want as a GM. Somebody who's want to shift the blame somewhere else. That's the guy I want.
Up that way.
There you go.
Yeah. This year's deadline is unbelievably important. The most important Islanders deadline in the last however many years. We say that all the time. But this is really an important deadline.
You didn't ask me what a successful first year for Mathieu Darche is. I almost
what's a success, Grumpy? What's a successful first year for Mathieu Darche? Can I ask you?
Him getting fired at the end, but no. Pretty much what Tommy said. I don't think you can come out of the trade deadline between now and the trade deadline and still have J.G. Pajot, Anders Lee, and a defenseman who makes some money on this team after that deadline. And I don't care where the Islanders are in the standings. It doesn't matter if they're not going to be first in the division. You know, they'll be kicking around the 9-10 spot in the playoffs, 8, 9, 10. That's where they'll be. But regardless of where they are, you have to move guys at the deadline and get ready for the transition to the next phase. If you don't, if you just keep the same old, because right now, like I said, it looks like the only direction they're having is the same rudderless direction that they've had the last number of years. Just bring everybody back and everybody will show up. That cannot be – it can't be what it looks like after the deadline. So I agree with Tommy on that. Load up on first-round draft.
It's simple. Draft Schaefer, unload at the deadline, stock up on 26. Then you got a big free agency with a lot of cap space. Make all your picks. Spend your money on good players.
Yep.
This is not hard to do.
It's not.
Let's just hope they take the route that they should. That's the important thing. And one more thing I wanted to mention for those who listen usually primarily to the podcast, the last show will be, at least with me on it, and then, it's grumpy show then at that point. The last show I'll be a part of will be on Sunday. It'll be on Sunday, June the 22nd. Circle your calendars there. We'll have like a call-in show. We'll do like the best of. We'll do some hits, the good old times, look back on the good old times, some clips, and talking a little bit. And then we'll do a call-in portion for Sunday. It's a weird one. We're doing it Sunday, but yes, Sunday. It'll be a Sunday show. It'll be the last show.
Were you able to find the clips of DB, aka defensive back Cooper?
I haven't even started compiling clips yet. Tony Cheese has done a good job sending them to me, so I'll have to start looking at that this weekend. But Grumpy, Nick D.
Oh no! Did you hear that news that Darche is talking to Utah for the fourth pick to pick Hagens? I swear some people are so eager over nothing. I wouldn't trade any picks. Period. We need to build. B.I.
We need to build. I don't know. We need to build through the draft, but. Yes, I shared that where, again, as much as people, you'll see some sections of the fan base who are vehemently very excited. They're overwhelmed with excitement about Hagens. Other portions of the fan base are saying the same thing we are. So we're kind of across the board. I think there's mixed feelings, obviously, on what the Islanders should do regarding a James Hagens type player. I think people who value nostalgia and, are going to be pro James Hagens. People are like, best player available, only if he falls into our laps. Other than that, not interested. We'll miss you, TJ says Matthew Carbone. Thanks, man. I appreciate Matthew. Drew Grumpy.
All right, three amigos. Let's see what conspiracies about this team we can cook up today.
Tommy, good segue. Any conspiracy theories that we need to discuss? Any rabbit holes that we need to go down regarding the Islanders? That's the real question.
The amazing part is that I think it's going to be such a vanilla offseason, and I know that Islander fans don't want to hear that, but if it's done right, good things come to those who wait. And we are in a situation right now that Lou put us in a terrible, and I mean it. Lou and ownership put us in a terrible situation. I have to fix it. But the conspiracy theories, I will still tell you that I don't believe Mr. Malkin is committed to the utmost extent of building a champion. I don't think that's what he sees. I believe it's a real estate deal for him, and that when everything is built, he's going to get rid of this team. You can say conspiracy theory or not, but when the hotel is built and the racetrack is finished and we finally open up this mall, which is supposed to be opened up for I don't know how long, and everything's at its peak amount of money, bye-bye, I'm selling. And
so there you go.
In comes with a Superman shirt, Steve Cohen.
So There you go. Tommy was able to slip it in. The one time I let he and TJ start a show all by themselves, they had sold the Islanders and disbanded the franchise. And here I am. He was able to slip it in one last time with his buddy TJ. I appreciate it. I do have a question for you, though, Tommy. I always say that Lamoriello infected the Islanders with devilitis. And we all know how it turned out for the Devils. How fatal a case of devilitis do you think the Islanders have? Is like, what do they say? DEFCON. What's DEFCON 5 is like the lowest?
Yes, DEFCON 1's the worst.
Okay, so between DEFCON 5 and 1, where are the Islanders being infected with devilitis? I mean, putting everybody in for 2-year extensions really extends it too.
He took it to DEFCON 1. Absolutely. Wow. With every coach that had on the staff had to have a Devil's association with him. Everything had a Devil's association with him. Yeah. He took it to DEFCON 1. He, outside of the fact that Lou got Barry Trotz, which you got to give him all the credit in the world for, and we had an opportunity to be a really, really good team. He did nothing after that fact to put this team in the right direction, both in management, scouting, our lower level systems, drafting. There was nothing he did proper. And I'll even say this to Islander fans to this day. I said it back then. Do I like Bo Horvat? Yes, I do. Very good player. Would I have given up my assets to trade for him where the team was? Absolutely not. No. And then to admit that I overpaid him.
Yeah. Yeah.
The most production he had was in about the first 2 or 3 years. And after the back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals runs, it was all downhill from there, and we just continued to let him steer it in that direction. At the beginning, he started with a great bang, did a lot of great things, brought respectability back, brought Sorokin in, brought in Barry Trotz. Again, the list goes on for what he did, had a positive impact. The first year that they missed out on the Stanley Cup playoffs, and by a large margin, the writing should have been on the wall. I just think about it's like with even like Peter DeBoer. Again, head coaches are different than GMs, but it's like you make 3 Western Conference Finals in a row and you get fired as a head coach. You know what I mean? Like some teams have a really high expectation and they have goals of winning a Stanley Cup. And when they say we're getting close, we're finishing like 4th place every year, F it. We think we're better than that. You're gone as a head coach. They're trying to win the Stanley Cup, and I would have been fine with something like that. But yes, I do think that there's definitely some layer of the Property brothers involved with this ownership group of Malkin. I could definitely say they've already started to sell off ownership already, might I add. So I don't think they're going to sell out of everything until it's fully developed, but I don't know. I think there's some infighting going on with ownership from what we hear. Freedom Fund Adventure says, hey, Coach Tommy B, good to see you. It doesn't matter what crazy thought you put in TJ's head tonight. We won't have to hear it for long, because he's a quitter and abandoning all of us and his family. That is correct. I'm going away. I'm riding the runaway train. I was about to say, I was curious if he had any other thoughts that he had besides the Property brothers. I was like, man, we could schizo spiral together one last time, but I'm fully on board with the Property brothers. I think that's probably a likely scenario. Jeremy Ford Hamlet says here, if you were the Panthers, who would you draft, Misa or Schaefer? Schaefer. Yeah, I think without a doubt. Rich Arnold says here, I have zero problem trading back to get Hagens. See, I'm not for that. You don't get the number 1 overall pick often unless somebody gave you, a king's ransom. A king's ransom, no interest.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Don't trade the golden ticket.
I thought he meant trading back into the first round.
No.
Yeah, I'm not taking that Hagens kid. No.
Freedom Fund Adventure says here.
Way too many red flags for him.
Freedom Fund Adventure says here, first overall pick must be Schaefer. He's a consensus number 1. I want no part of Hagens. If the Islanders were to obtain a second first-round pick, they should obtain a better player than Hagens.
How low does Hagens have to fall for you before you say, you know what, I'm willing to roll the dice and try to
7, 6, 7. If they did that,
I was thinking 7. I was thinking 7.
Can I give you the second player I'd want if we were to actually do that?
Frondell. Go ahead. Tell me Frondell.
No. Porter Martone.
He's going 3rd to Chicago.
I want the power forward. When was the last time we had a also on that list. When was the last time the Islanders had a legitimate power forward? I mean, Andersley was good, yes, but I mean a legitimate possible first-line power forward. When have we had that player?
It's been forever. My concern for him, he can't skate. He's a poor skater.
He's an average skater, but he has the traits that he's never afraid to go to the net. He will go to the net. He has a wicked shot. He has a wicked toe drag, and he's a really good passer. I don't know if you watched his passing ability. It's really, really – he's got the complete offensive package, but, yes, a little upgrade in his skating would be what elevates him to being that player.
I think it's fair to say he's the perfect selection for Connor Bedard.
I agree.
I think Frondell is probably a better all-around player, but, they have the who is it? Nazar – as it could be their second line center, the guy we could have drafted instead of picking our pal Romanov. But I just think they're looking Martone at number 3. I think that's a fait accompli.
Yeah. We got here from My Little Brownie saying, TJ, even though your arguments with analysis and expert gave me PTSD at times, you'll be missed. I hope you'll make special appearances. Best of luck. Thanks so much, My Little Brownie.
He's only allowed to comment then. That's it.
Yeah. Freedom Fund Adventure says Hagens is a Smurf. He's a perimeter Pete. Probably needs to switch to wing, and then he would be a tiny wing, pass first guy. The Islanders are loaded with that type of player.
They're not loaded with that type of guy, but he's dropping for a reason.
He got him already.
Yeah, they already got
him. Something. We have that player already, though he's better, and that's Bambo's up.
That's right. Peter Mcandetty says all the fans wanting to trade Dobson. Dude was a 70-point D-man a year ago on a team without much offensive talent. Exactly, Peter.
Yep.
Peter's intelligent.
Yep.
Moose Jaw Sasquatch says, "Gonna miss you, TJ. Good health and fortune to you and the family. Permanent guest host Tommy B. Welcome to Grumpy and the Paisan."
There it is. Thanks, Moose Jaw. Appreciate it. Mark Rodway.
Is there a way to draft Schaefer and trade to get the number 4 pick if Hagens is still there? Hagens will be there at 4.
I think
that's a guarantee. I don't even think Utah wants to have some. They want to have some players who are ready to play on their team. That's what they want.
The skill is there offensively for them. I don't think necessarily they're trying to look for the most skilled player. I think they're trying to look for the right fit.
I think if Utah is at that pick and it's Schaefer, Misa, say Martone, I think they're either looking at Frondell or Desharnais before they draft Hagens in Utah, because they already have those type of guys too. So I think they're going to look in that area if they hold with the pick. Yes, it's possible that Utah wants to trade the pick. We all know that. That's accurate. But it's not going to be cheap. It's going to be expensive. Unless it's a fair deal, I'm not doing it.
It's like Romanov plus. It's fine by me. The Wicked 50
Cow goes, "Hello, everyone. I'm loving hearing all the Islanders trading up for Hagens. I call this plan Shenanigans." Very good.
I like that. Freedom Fund Adventure.
Baffi, what do you think of Grumpy and TJ's massive meltdown and overreaction because Darche hasn't traded away all those worthless vets, acquired more picks, officially moved on from some guys?
Look, the fact of the matter is, I mean, Darche has barely got his feet wet yet. So we do have to, in fairness, whether you like him or you're up, it's not his fault that Lou signed all these extensions. That's Malcolm's fault. Correct. So I actually give Darche credit for taking this job despite having to walk into that situation, knowing that for a year I got to live with somebody else's rejects before I can actually really mold my staff. I give him credit for actually taking that chance. He's probably got a 5-year deal, I'm assuming. It's probably in that range. That's what most guys get in that position. So I have to give him some time. I'm going to give him, honestly, if he hasn't overhauled this team by the end of the second year, I'm going to be pissed. If he doesn't take Matthew Schaefer, I'm going to be pissed. I want to see some of the team overhauled at the deadline, then the rest of the team overhauled at the next deadline. And that's what's got to be done.
And we're not upset about him not trading away vets and acquiring more picks and moving on for some players. What we're upset with is the guy who took the job is obviously and clearly was not their first, second, third, or fourth person they wanted for this position. That's what we're upset about, because any self-respecting general managers said they were not interested in this job, because in order to take this job, you inherited the same 2 assistant general managers, one being the son of the prior GM and Steve Pellegrini. They re-signed back the entire scouting staff. They're trying to cut costs in certain areas by firing things like the radio crew. You're saddled with certain pieces for 20% of the contract, at least, that you signed. If you signed a 5-year deal, it's at least a year that you're saddled. They're not buying out these contracts or firing these people until at the end of year 1. And it just makes you think, okay, if Darche was so desperate to accept the job where he was handcuffed for maybe the entire first year, how desperate was he to get other jobs at this point? And how many other teams that he interviewed with in the past said, we're passing up on Darche because of reason A, B, or C? It makes you think he was not our first selection for GM, wasn't our second or third, and he took so many stipulations to take this job. How many other stipulations was he willing to take that maybe other GMs were not going to take, but he took it because he wanted the job so desperately? That makes me worry a little bit that maybe we didn't get the best guy. That's what I'm worried about. If he does all those things that we wanted to do to the line, I'm happy with him. I'm trying to jump ahead as to I'm trying to play psychologist over here. It's like, why would he take this job with so many spots where he's handcuffed? Who does that? That's what we're concerned with.
Well, I mean, as I said, you can look at it the other way. I can look at it where I'm going to give him credit for saying, look, I'm going to deal with this for a year and then do it. A lot of people would say no. Look, it's a funny thing I wanted to point out. There were all these great head coaches that were available to sign, and all this crap in the executive market that was available for us to go after. It was bad timing for all of it. Again, I'll say it. Lou should have been let go of 2 years ago easily. And this is what happens when you do that.
Yep, absolutely here. Edward Figueroa says the Islanders ownership sucks. I agree. John Santa Maria says here, why wasting time talking about Hagens? Darche will pick Schaefer, period. I hope so, and I think so. If he doesn't, I'm worried. I'm worried immediately, but I think that's such a small chance that he doesn't pick Schaefer. Goon says, Coach Tommy B, what surprised you more? TJ stepping away from the show or ending of the film Fargo?
First of all, I want to say nothing really ever surprises me in life, because everything takes different twists and turns. That's just how life is. As you get more experience in life, you learn that. Nothing is a straight line. It's a rare thing. But I did think that I would be seeing TJ and his dad here for many, many more years together. And I also wanted to see that, in all honesty. I wanted to see that. So that's maybe a little bit of a surprise to me.
Yeah. Jeremy Ford Hamlet says, if Toronto is winning the Cup Finals and the Panthers are out, does Hagens' value go up? And say Denoyers, Martone, and Martin drop just a little bit?
No.
No, I don't think so. Here you go. Atlas Shrugged says here, we draft Hagens and win the Cup. Grumpy, fuck that kid.
That's fair. That's fair.
That is an adequate way to characterize Grumpy's irrational hatred towards him, because he just doesn't want him. Edward Figueroa says ownership wants Hagens. We'll find out really quickly how involved ownership is with the team. I don't think, here's the thing. I tend to believe they're the same level of involvement. None at this point, which is the reason why they let Lou do whatever the hell he wanted for such a long time period without stepping in and intervening. I think they're just going to let Darche do what he wants, which is the same reason why they let Lou sign back his son and his assistant, Steve Pellegrini, and the entire freaking scouting staff when they were going to fire him in the offseason. They let him do that. They just unchecked.
The number one, I guarantee everybody out there that the number one reason Mathieu Darche took this job was his ability to take that number 1 overall pick. I guarantee it. So the Islanders ownership is not telling him what to do with that pick, or he definitely wouldn't have taken this job.
Jeff Sobel says, how about maybe Dobson to a team to move up to draft Hagens along with a defensive prospect and another piece? Jeff, I love you. Please, I see your significant other in your picture. Don't tell her that. She's going to kick your ass to the curb.
No.
She's going to say, how could you have such a dumb take, Jeff? And it might be the end. I don't know if you're married. I'll just assume you are. And I'll say, get out, pack your bags, hit the bricks. We're done.
the amount. Okay, here's the only way that you get rid of Dobson. If his asking price is way higher to be signed as a long-term deal than you're willing to pay because of the incompetence of the prior general manager, you can't make it work. That is the only way I'm moving Dobson. If it does not work for us financially within the cap constraints that Lou has handcuffed our new GM Matthew Darche as well, that is the only way I'm trading Dobson.
Okay. And the number 4 overall pick and their first round next year unprotected, or I'm not doing it.
See, that's to me. You can get so much more for Dobson, and not in this year's draft. I'm looking if you're looking to move Dobson, I'm looking to get next year's draft.
That's why I said next year's pick unprotected plus the number 4 pick. Otherwise, he ain't going there.
Yeah, no way.
Dobson is already a proven player who's a bare minimum 40 point a year, a cap maybe of 70 point a year type guy as a defenseman.
But Jeff said, throw another defensive prospect and another player. Like that's what it would take.
No. They would. The other team would do that. They would throw in those pieces to us.
I didn't get that. I thought it was all that stuff.
Yes, you misread it. You misread it. Rick Roma, you misread it.
Rick Roma says the Avs 26 pick is going to be a late first round. You don't know that.
We don't.
Hadjo and Romanoff is totally unrealistic. That's to you, Tommy B.
Really quickly, it says Hagens.
Pick, by the way, I'm going to say something to you. You're overestimating the Avalanche a little bit in that really tough division, in that really tough conference. I saw quite a bit of holes in that playoff series that would make me worry about that team possibly falling back some this year.
Maybe
they're done.
Maybe number 20. Maybe I don't think they're going to fall off the planet, but I could see them maybe falling to number 20 or something.
Avalanche are done. They're no longer a Stanley Cup contender.
Oh, who's their goalie, by the way? Who's their goalie?
Wedgwood, right?
Cheese.
Is it Blackwell? Who is it? Blackwell, right?
Yes. Swiss cheese. Mackenzie Blackwood.
Yeah, he sucks.
Swiss cheese.
He sucks. Yeah. And they signed him to a big extension, too.
They gave him a 5-year deal. Yeah, it's just okay. And when you start looking at the players on the team where you're just like, oof, they're not okay. Again, like Brock Nelson, he's in his 30s. Landeskog, he's been out so many years. He's 33. You look at it, Devon Taves, he's in his 30s now. Jonathan Drouin, 30s. Lehkonen, 30s. McKinnon, 30s. Niskutsin, 30s.
Drouin's a UFA. They have no money for him. He's gone.
Yeah, that's what I say. The guys they have on that team are starting to get old. They're on the wrong side of 30 now. Their fun in the sun's done. They need to start restructuring how they. That's what it's like when they re-signed Brock Nelson. They traded for Brock Nelson. Like, woof, big mistake for them. And then they went ahead and re-signed him back. Woof, another big mistake for Colorado.
I'm shocked they signed him, by the way.
Yeah, I am too.
I am surprised they signed him.
Grumpy, just really quickly, Jeff did say to draft Hagens, we trade Dobson, and then we would get Hagens, a defensive prospect, and another piece. So it wasn't as crazy as what you thought, but it still wasn't be something I'd entertain.
Still a big no. Google says, Grumpy, would you like to say a few words about the passing of music legends Brian Wilson and Sly Stone? Jess, I didn't realize Sly Stone died, but Brian Wilson. TJ, do you know who Brian Wilson?
You don't know the Beach Boys?
Oh, no. Beach Boys. Yeah, I know the Beach Boys. I didn't know
he was the creator of he was the musical voice of the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Can you name up one Beach Boy song?
Something about summer. I don't know.
What the? Just name one.
I don't know. I don't know any of the songs. If you put them on, I can say, "Oh yeah, this is the Beach Boys." Or like, here's the thing: they're Frankie Valli and a Four Valley or Four whatever. So they're just similar to the Beach Boys.
No, that's the Four Seasons.
The Four Seasons. That's right. Yeah.
Can you name one Beach Boy song? You kind of had it. If you should be able to name it, you kind of did the music.
I know it's like da 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 da. I don't know. I don't listen to music.
Da 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 da.
I don't know.
USA.
Surfing USA, sure. Oh yeah, wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, I know there's songs.
Oh jeez.
Ponybird Curtis, Grump.
Right to the end. Ponybird Curtis says, serious question for Grump. Grumpy, would you rather have one female GM or a split GM between Kekalainen and Darche? Well, there's no way I'm hiring a female general manager. And put Darche and Kekalainen in the same room. Whoever fights it out, whoever comes out of that room, you're the guy. Hey, we're holding tryouts.
Now, Kekalainen needed to be the guy. If you were going to go, Dan Leachin. Pajot to Ottawa seems like a logical fit. Ottawa is trending in the right direction.
You've never said his full name. That's why.
Dan Leachin is exactly what I said.
You've never used his full name before.
Okay.
Pajot to Ottawa seems like a logical fit. Ottawa is trending in the right direction, and they could use center depth, especially if Giroux leaves. Ottawa could use a feel-good story getting Pajot. The fans and ownership do not have a great relationship. I think Giroux signs back. Yes, and that doesn't mean that they can't be in the mix for Pajot at the deadline, though, as a number 3 center, which is what he played there before.
Yeah, and playoff success he had in Ottawa. I did hear as well that Daniel Giroux is going to sign back with Ottawa.
Yeah,
it is a logical fit, but that's a deadline trade. If you're looking to move Pajot now, it's probably a different team. Maybe Utah.
You're going to get more at the deadline, I think. That's why you just wait till the deadline comes up to move a guy like that. But yeah, like there's a lot. Okay, think about it. They should. Oh man, I'm looking at actually Ottawa's not had as many first round draft picks the last few years as I thought they would have. Oof.
Remember,
anyway,
Pajot's playing second line center. He's got like 40, 45 points. He just raised his stock. That's the object.
Yeah. Frank from Empire State is angry. He's yelling at us. I can see Schaefer being a bust. Misa is the man and skates great. What's with all the periods? And skates. Great. I guarantee you haven't seen Misa highlight video. I have. He gets an awful lot of goals a foot from the net. His name should be Teddy Tappan. That should be his nickname.
He's going to be dealing with a lot different people in front of that net in the NHL than he is where he is now. And the way you wrote that, I think you were drinking a lot of Schaefers.
Rick Roma.
Ryan Murphy was also compared to Scott Niedermayer. He was only 5'11". He was taken number 2 overall by the Jackets. Go look at his career. You guys might want to slow down on the Schaefer hype. Ryan Murray could not skate like Matthew Schaefer can.
Not even close.
Ryan Murray, I remember we offered every single draft pick we had that year for the Ryan Murray selection. Well, we were drafting like 4th or 5th or something like that. Ryan Murray was very highly regarded. Yeah. So he was at that time.
But he was smaller.
Small.
Matthew Schaefer is big. He's 6'2".
I preach it all the time. You want big defensemen, and no knock on these small guys, but you're handling these forwards who are most of them are all big beasts. These small defensemen are going to lose the battles in front of them. They're going to lose the corner battles to these guys. Yep. You need bigger defensemen.
Okay, the other thing about Ryan Murray as well, in his draft class year, again, not all that important, but in 46 games, he had 31 points. Again, Schaefer played only 15 games and had, 22 some odd points. Again, much higher point production per game as well.
He was Rich Arnold 22 already, but when he got hurt.
In 15 games, which is nuts. And he was,
he's a difference maker. He's a difference maker. Rich Arnold says the Islanders are making the playoffs next year. Book it.
I kind of hope they don't.
I hope they don't too.
What I'm afraid of,
they will, but I wouldn't rule it out. If they stay reasonably healthy, then it's possible in that crap division we play in.
I think they're kicking around a playoff spot.
I'm like a battered women's syndrome is what I feel like, because with Lou at the helm, if we're somewhere within the realm of a playoff spot, does Mathieu Darche say we need to go for play? We need to do anything we can to have playoff success. So we're keeping Anders Lee at the deadline. We're keeping Jean-Gabriel Pageau. We don't maximize the assets. That's what I'd worry about. Again, if Mathieu Darche shows that he's, doing what he should do and he trades those guys away, I'll feel very confident in him.
And Rich, you don't know how huge it would be for the Islanders organization to get Schaefer and a top 5 pick in next year's draft. You don't realize how game-changing that is.
Yep. John Santamaria says the old credo when retooling, start from the net out. We have the goalie, so grab the defenseman. I agree.
Freedom Fund Adventure.
Novelty, Hagens, doesn't sell tickets for long. Elite talent, passion, excitement, hitting, fighting, and skill does. True.
Very true.
Goon.
Coach Tommy, what is your coaching background? Is Hagens homebound?
Well, as I said, I played from the time I was in my early years of 7-8 when I started to get into hockey. I played all the way till about 34. Locally, I coached my own teams from 18 till the time I stopped playing, 34, after having reconstructive spinal surgery. That was really what knocked me out. Rods and screws in your spine make it difficult.
He didn't ask about your injury history. He said, what's your coaching background?
I'm just giving it to him. So it was all local stuff here in Long Island. coached a lot of championships, played on a lot of championships, and with a great group of guys. And there's no sport bonding like sports like hockey and football. They're the best bonding sports there are out there. And as far as is Hagens homebound, maybe his brother might be, but I don't think he is. I can see the Islanders drafting his brother in the 7th round, who's a 19-year-old defenseman at Boston College.
Rick Roma says, so you want the 4th overall pick, but don't want to give up anything of value. Tommy B is definitely an Islanders fan.
I think, okay, Romanoff gave up a 13th overall pick for a guy like Romanoff. We did. And if you're packaging other things up with them too, okay, Utah is in a different spot than we are. They're trying to win now. They've got a lot of young prospects. They've had multiple years of draft selections in the early multiple years. I'll emphasize it once again. Look what they did with Sergachev. They brought in a guy like Sergachev. They're not afraid to trade away their picks. They're starting to try to bring in guys who can contribute for them now. I think Romanoff has more value than what we think to a team like that. Barry Richmond says, would you trade Holmstrom in Colorado's first in 2026 for the 4th overall selection? Yes.
Yeah, I would do
that.
Holmstrom. Yeah, I would do that.
How about you, Grump?
No.
Okay. No. Hold on. No.
No, I think Holmstrom could be a valuable member of this team now.
Shit. I tell you, hell.
I don't want to give around. I don't want to give away 1st-round picks in next year's draft.
Okay, so that's what it is. Has nothing to do with Simon Holmstrom.
Particularly because, all right, but Holmstrom showed something this year, right?
Okay.
He could be a solid middle 6 guy.
The primary reason was not Holmstrom like you had originally described it just a second ago, because Holmstrom could be somebody who's really valuable for this team going forward. Just speaking at your ass. JJ Grumpy.
TJ, please don't leave the show. Enjoy this show. Guys, keep it going. Well, the show will continue. Just
show will go.
Son X is going to – Phil's going to be on the show a lot, and Son X is going to be taking – he's going to be on the show some, and you can't bag on X or quit. So you're going to have to be nice to him. Yeah. Oh, Jeff, here we go again. Dobson's to Chicago for their number 3, and Lavashnov, and maybe another piece.
I'm out. Why is Chicago doing that?
They're not doing
it. I just don't. It's like if they wanted to compete immediately, but Chicago still is quite a bit away. That's why I think they keep a guy like that. They're not moving away their 3rd overall pick from last year, and they're just not going to do that. They're in a rebuild, and they've got quite a few more years of the rebuild left to go still. And the Bedard kid didn't play last year like he was advertised to be. JP.
The Fredo extensions still haven't been reported properly.
I'd say again, here's the thing. If you notice this year and they haven't fired Fredo, that's all you need to know. He was given an extension.
Worst executive in the NHL.
Yep. Jackson T.
Jackson Tom Ford says, what I wanted to ask was a question I don't think anyone has asked. Do you think the Islanders will have a YouTube channel and do interviews with the players? They did it in Tampa, so maybe Darche will. I don't know. I cannot answer that.
Are you Grumpy? Are you watching the NBA Finals right now?
No, I'm just answering the question. What do you think?
Yes, he's watching the NBA Finals. I don't think anything. I don't think they have any sort of input on that, Jackson. I do think it would be kind of cool. I do think bringing out more of the Islanders get to know the players would be kind of neat. But I don't think that's something he has control over at all.
Polly Mazda says, what makes you guys against going for Misa? Schaefer would 100% improve this team and move the puck exceptionally well, but forever we haven't been above bottom 3rd in scoring. I just don't think Misa's just a better player. And
Schaefer's just a better player.
Schaefer's just a better player. You can always get goal scorers and wingers. If your team is bad, you're going to be drafting high for the next few years. It's tougher to get a defenseman.
Do you not understand the impact that a player like Cal McCarr has or a Mikko Heiskanen has on their teams, even a Fox, the ability to move the puck and create offense from inside your own blue line out is crucial. Most offense does not develop just necessarily in the offensive zone. It develops in the other 2 zones. And when you have one of the best young talents at doing that, it's essential to creating our offense.
Yep, and look at our organizational depth. Cole Eiserman, he's a winger, he's a forward. You know what I mean? You look at Callum Ritchie, he's a forward. You look at the guys that are the more talented prospects we have, they're forwards. But I think just in general, Schaefer's the most talented player out there. He's a consensus #1 overall pick. No need to reinvent the wheel. You draft the guy who's supposed to go #1 overall. Goon.
Coach Tommy, when SunX takes over, are you confident the show won't miss a beat? What's the word on the street?
I'm confident that the show will go on. I'm confident that the show will be something different, and we'll find out how enjoyable it is. This has been what is it, 8 years you've had this show?
A lot of years.
It's a great show. It's a show that I enjoy and I watch as much as possible. But you got to be open to new things. We're all going to miss TJ, absolutely. But I have confidence that SunX can pick it up and that he'll be his own personality. He doesn't have to be TJ; he needs to be SunX.
Yep.
I will say, SunX, when he gets more familiar with the product, he's much more glib. He's more snarky than TJ.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
But when things go wrong for the Islanders, it's absolutely going to be the officials' fault. That much I can guarantee you.
He's a bitch complaining about that. Mr. Janspan says here, Isaiah George is knocking on the door as well. I think he's close. Freedom Fund Adventure. He'll probably get some time next year. Freedom Fund Adventure says here, nothing Darche is saying right now is bothering me because he isn't going to tell anyone his plans. That's true. I do agree with that. Only dumbasses do that. Correct. Judge Darche, post-trade deadline, he has a ton of problems to handle. Yep. I'd say that we are going to know what I think of him much better at the end of this year's trade deadline. Yes. I 100% agree with that statement. Rick Roma.
Misa, in his draft year in the OHL, generated around similar on-ice production to a lot of top-level forwards, NHL forwards over the last 20 years, like Stamkos, Kane, Tavares, and Marner.
I think we addressed this a little bit earlier, too. It's just not at the same level of competition. It's the reason why a lot of guys had really high point production this year in the OHL. It's not the same OHL we're familiar with. Goon.
Okay. Why is this comment coming up? I don't care about Pete. I don't live in Long Island. I don't care about Pete's options.
We're gonna have to pass on that, Goon.
Good. I'm interested, Tommy B. What's the favorite type of pie you get?
Anything that it's food related.
I'm fucking hungry. I haven't eaten dinner yet, so that's why we're doing this. What type of pie do you like, Tommy?
Look, my name's not David Portney, but as a New Yorker, you're used to most places at least producing a solid pie. We actually, I could say this, where we had many of our Drive for 5 watch parties at Borelli's, where he has actually gone and done a review. Borelli's has a very good pie. There are a couple of pizza places right here in Long Beach that are very good. You can always do Umberto's. Umberto's is always solid, and there's a few Umberto's around the island. I can only tell you that if you're looking for a crappy pie, you'll go to Domino's.
See, all I get is Domino's around me. So I get Domino's pepperoni pizza. It's about as basic as the order can get. So
we got some nice pizza places in town. So
you go.
It's not New York pizza, but they're still pretty good. Freedom Fund Adventure goes, Romanov won't be the one demanding too much money. That'll be Dobson. He brought in a new cutthroat agent, and he's getting married too. He wants max money. Got to keep that girl in whatever makes her happy. And term, Dobson hasn't earned that.
I think we'll just agree to disagree there, because I think definitely you look at the production, 70 points 2 years ago, 50 points in years prior. He's a 40-plus point a year guy, year in and year out. So as a defenseman.
Tommy, what was Dick Cheney's company that, they were getting those government defense contracts that, was a problem back in the day? Wasn't it Halliburton?
Yes.
Halliburton. It was Halliburton. Okay. Mark Rodway says, if the Islanders are somehow competing for a playoff spot this season, I hope Darche still understands that trading Lee, Pajot, and Casey still must be made. Absolutely.
Yes. I agree, Mark. We all agree.
But will Malkin understand that?
Well, if it's Collins running the show now, they should understand that.
Hey, buddy, you hired me to be the GM. You're the owner. Let's do this. You're going to watch me do my job. You've hired me for 5 years. You want to can me after one, have a ball and a party. This is the plan that I'm going with.
They're never canning him after 1 year.
Okay.
They will never.
That's my point. That's my point. Let me do my job. You sit in your lane. I'm going to do my job. Simples.
Worst case scenario, he gets 3 years. That's worst case scenario.
That's worst case.
Brian Jennings says, good evening, lads. I want the Islanders to take the team to take the team to get young, fast, and take their time in building the team.
I just hope they don't rush. They try to rush it. They try to do a whole bunch of patch jobs, do it the right way so we can really become a contender. Rick Roma.
Rick, no free agent is coming to Long Island anyway. You think McDavid is signing with the Islanders? Ain't happening. I think what you find a lot of these free agents, you can sign, you make a lot more money going to states like Florida, Texas, states that have lower tax rates. And I think players, how much money are you going to put in my pocket? That's what they look at. I don't blame them.
And McDavid is interesting. I wonder if they do lose this series, how that affects his mindset.
He's not make it.
I personally think he's going to stay. And obviously, there has always been that rumor out there that he wants to be a Ranger. That rumor has been out there, but I don't even know how the Rangers could maneuver that.
No,
I don't see it. He's staying.
He's going to get, I say, $18.5 million.
That's what I have. Eight times 18.5 is exactly how I have his contract.
Brian G says here, you need a few vets and leadership in the room with all the young guys coming. Paul Murray was a no-brainer. We have a lot of vets.
Yeah, but we don't have them in the room yet.
Yeah, we don't even have the young guys in there yet. Our
He'll
team
be
is
gone by the time they get there.
Shit, at this point, Matt Barzal's a vet. At this point, like, we've got so many vets on this team. Like, Matt Barzal's 27, 28 years old. He's a vet. Horvat definitely is a vet. Like, Anders Lee, he's a vet. Like, Romanoff now is a vet. And Dobson's a vet. They've been in the league for, like, 5-6 years now. Pellick.
Mayfield.
I'll trade Horvat for the number 4 overall pick.
I would do that, too.
That's salacious. Here, Robert Marshall, Grump.
Hagens had 37 points in 37 games as a freshman playing tougher competition. Grumpy, he can play even your boy Phil told you. Best player for Team USA in the World Juniors. He's a perimeter Pete. I watched him in the championship game, and he underwhelmed for me. He never came back inside his own blue line to play any defense. He was goal hanging.
Now, with that, can we also say that Phil hates Sorokin and Noah Dobson?
He absolutely hates Sorokin. And
he doesn't like Dobson either. He rips on Dobson all the time.
Hates him. He also hates Matt Barzal, too. Hates all the good players on the team.
Yeah.
I just hate Hagens because he's not on the team. Guru says, does Phil's Facts have better hockey sense than Chris Lamorello? All right, everybody.
By default, yes.
Everybody does. Should I start learning the xylophone or the cello? No, probably.
The cello. Going to have more applicable skill for you. Jay says here, what do you think about Ken Morrow? As a pro scout? Has he done a good job? Hamstrung by management over the years?
Okay. Ken Morrow has been in the organization since 1980. He's been in the organization since 1980.
And he's got 4 cup rings and a gold medal.
Yeah.
That's how I'll end that.
I like Ken Morrow.
I do too. Nicest guy.
Yeah.
Mr. Janspan.
Are there any former current Tampa Bay Lightning players available that Darche might acquire? The only one.
Maybe Isaac Howard.
That's it. He's the only one I want.
We don't know what the issues are.
We don't know if the bad relationship with Howard is with Darche.
You'll know that right away. You'll know that right away.
Or if maybe Darche or maybe Isaac Howard is a guy who they're like, who big red X's around that guy too. Brian Jennings.
Let's build the entire organization with prospects so that we can have sustainable success.
Got to have a fine line. I think, winning as Grumpy and I talked about on prior shows, winning the draft lottery really helps our ability to rebuild this team and to restructure things. It really does. Freedom Fund Adventure here.
Question for Baffi. TJ is apparently abandoning all of us to spend more time with his family. How long before Paige and Liza get sick of TJ's unhinged rants about the Islanders? Will they force him back on the show?
I'm not at liberty or even an expert on that situation to be able to give you an answer on that one. But family does come first.
Okay, TJ, would you say that who is Liza's favorite?
The lovely Doc Page. It's not even close.
It's not even close.
She loves lovely Doc Page. Loves her.
What about
Freedom
Grandpa?
Fund Adventure?
Imagine. Well, I'd ask how much does he love Grandpa? It has to be like top of the list.
Let me tell you something.
Grandpa's a stooge. Grandpa's a jester. Just like Uncle X, they're jesters.
So, in other words, We're going to be ahead of TJ on the pecking order too.
Frank says here, yeah, Freedom. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but we really need TJ. LOL. Thanks, Freedom for the Venture. I
no
appreciate
idea
it.
how much you're going to miss him.
Rick Roma says
McCarr and Taves. LOL. Slow down, fellas.
Again, if you watch Schaefer play, I seriously watch his play. Watch whole games of him too. He's really talented. Is he Cale Makar? Probably not.
He's bigger and
a first ballot Hall of Fame.
He's bigger and he has potential. Again, it's all potential, right? Has potential to be a way better defensive player. I don't think Cale Makar plays much defense at all.
No defense.
Devon Taves bails him out a lot.
Yes. But if again, like a guy like that, if he could maybe he's not as offensively talented, but he's much better defensively, that is definitely a plus to your team.
This kid is so smart. At 17, he already understands gap control.
Yep.
That's impressive.
When I compare him to Makar, I'm talking about his skating and his ability to see the ice.
Yep.
And you can tell that that was, to me, that's like, wow. He gets it. He gets it.
Watch him step up at plays at the blue line and in the neutral zone. He has no fear of coming after you to strip that puck. None.
Rick Roma says Dobson averages 40 points a year. That's not true. I know he averages more points than that. And Schaefer is a 17-year-old kid that's played 15 games last. It was 17 games last season. Got to get your numbers right, Rick.
He's averaging 48.6 points every 82 games.
And that includes, his early years stuck with Chara, playing on the third pair, or with Green. No.
First season he played like 30 games.
Yeah.
Yep.
Put up much, right?
He put 34 games, had 8 points, played then 46 games or 7 points, and played 46 games, had 14 points. Every year since then, 51, 49, 70, 39. Yeah.
Matthew Carbone says exactly, Grump will be older and slower. Yeah, without change. Frank from Empire State says Dobson with a good team and a partner is an 80-plus points up to 100. I think if he played on Edmonton, he'd be an 80 point. He'd be a point a game guy for certain.
He'd be similar to Bouchard. I agree.
Very similar.
Yep, absolutely. Freedom Fund Adventure says here, no, Sorokin is the best player, then Barzal and Horvat. Dobson could be excellent, but he makes dumb choices. He's soft. He's a turnover machine who mistakes. He mistakes leads directly to goals against. Dobson better man up, is what he says.
No.
Just agree to disagree. I mean, Dobson's production is there. He's saddled with a crappy partner in Romanoff, and he was much better when they got rid of the Romanoff and Dobson connection.
How good did he look when he was teamed with Pelech?
Great, looked fantastic.
Right.
Yep. But then, hey, when Romanoff was paired up with D'Angelo, wow, wasn't it crazy? Not only did Romanoff look awful, but D'Angelo looked awful on the ice. I wonder why that was. There was zero defense played by that line combo.
Oh well, every Islander fan for some reason thinks Tony D'Angelo is 10 times better than he actually is.
He's not.
Don't ask me why, but
he doesn't play any defense either, fans. Sorry. Brian Jennings says Islanders games are great to fall asleep to. I've been around too long to buy what the Islanders are selling. Fans deserve so much more. Spano, Wong, Milbury, driving Neil Smith out, and LaFontaine. Just bad.
Yeah. Freedom Fund Adventure says here, Dobson isn't a man. He hasn't put on the weight. He hasn't put in the work to be successful in all of his years in the NHL. He's a soft disgrace. There are 12-year-old girls with more developed upper bodies than Dobson. Dobson's pigeon-chested. He's never going to be big. He's just not built to be a big guy.
Genetics.
He's not.
It's genetics.
Yeah.
He's not going to be built the same way the other guys are.
I
but here's the
guarantee
thing.
you, if you peeled off his shirt and looked at his abs, you'd be saying a different. There's no fat hockey players.
No.
Not ones who skate as much as he does. No.
Barker M says here, no, Dobson is not good on the power play. Power play's lack of success has nothing to do with no Dobson. When he wasn't there and D'Angelo was there, we scored all of 0 times in 11 games he was out.
But he looked good out there. Man, he would look great, didn't he, that D'Angelo?
Oh, they're moving the puck so much better. We had 0 goal production in the 11 games he was gone. Okay. Rick Roma
says Celebrini and Misa and Smith and Eklund, etc. How long before the Sharks are a problem? It's still going to be a little while.
2 or 3 years.
As I told you guys last year, I'd rather be the Sharks than the Islanders. You could see what was coming together for the San Jose Sharks. They've got the good pieces in the mix. They've got Askarov in that too. That's one you didn't even include on there too, and he's going to be a legitimate goaltender in the NHL. What are they going to do on defense?
Dickinson's going to be really good.
That's why they wanted Schaefer.
Yes, because they've got the goalie, they've got the forward groups and talent. That's why it's like Schaefer. They could overpay, and it makes sense for them. There you go. Rick Roma.
I like McQueen. Don't want him on the Rangers. That's fair.
David
Something about his
Pease.
name. He's kind of got a like Steve. I said Steve McQueen.
Lightning
I just think
McQueen.
He's probably. You know who Steve McQueen is, TJ?
No clue. He's an actor. Right?
Oh, you don't know who Steve McQueen is?
Grumpy, we're 2 hours and 12 minutes in.
Okay, then what does that matter if you know who Steve McQueen is? He was known as the King of Cool.
Cool. How long ago was he the King of Cool? Before I was born?
Yes, before you were born. He was actually dead. He died in 1980, 50 years old. And I remember when he died, Tommy, I'm like, because I was young at the time, like, oh, well, that's pretty old. It was young, 50 years old.
God almighty. Fucking A.
David Pinchevsky says, Coach, we need to shed some salary. Who are we dumping?
I just told you, you're going to have to wait to the trade deadline for that to start really happening. That's just the way it is. Mr. Pinchevsky's a great guy, by the way. That's just the way it is. You're going to have some patience as an Islander fan.
Yep, absolutely. And here you go. Alex Inchy says, will TJ pull a Brett Favre and unretire multiple times? No.
Nope.
Yeah. Freedom Fund Adventure.
Baffling Baffi, when you were at a fan event and they were talking about promotions instead of wins, did you acknowledge they need to get more physical and find fighters to protect the team? Islanders the softest in the NHL.
The acknowledgement that as I said, if you build it, they will come is the terminology I used. And I explained to them that when people are spending $10,000 or more on their season tickets with parking, that gimmicks are just not going to continue to work to keep people spending that type of money. The only thing that will is winning. That's what I explained. And I mentioned the word Stanley Cup, and they all looked at me like I had 10 heads.
Robert Paris says, it's Schaefer or bust. Mr. Janspan says here, I wonder if they try to get Ishikov to come back and play now that blackballing Lou is gone. Ishikov is never going to come back here and play. He's off on the KHL for the rest of his life. And he'll be happy there, too. Mr. Janspan says here, Misa reminded me of Tavares in his personality.
Accurate.
And that's not a compliment. Jeremy Ford Hamlet says here, what would you say is a reasonable ask for Pajot if he's healthy and has a season similar to this past year? I think his season probably production-wise will be better, but I think a first and maybe something else, depending on how he plays. But like if he had the same years this year, first, I think it could be a first, maybe in like an ancillary piece.
If I'm getting a first-round pick for him, I'm happy. And I think he will have a better year this year. He's going to be the number 2 center for this team.
Yeah,
correct.
I think a first is right. I just wanted to say one thing to people out there about the Michael Misa thing. For all you who are drooling over him, this is his character level. He had his roommate at the Combine on Saturday do an interview to let the world know that Misa wanted to be a San Jose Shark. He didn't even announce it himself. He had his roommate go do it. I really got to question the character of this guy.
There you go. No, I'm out on Misa. No Misa.
God. Okay. Robert Barris says here, TJ's like Lou Gehrig, leaving in his prime. Frank says TJ's nothing like Lou Gehrig. He's more like Steve Balboni. I assume that is not a compliment.
It is not a compliment.
And hit the thumbs up, says Frank. Yeah, absolutely. Hit the thumbs up here. Freedom Fund Adventure says here, 100,000,000% Robertson for Dobson. Dobson hasn't earned big money or term. I just will agree to disagree. Again, I think he's showing everything what you need to have as a young, budding offensive defenseman that the league is so craving.
Why is Dallas making that trade, by the way, when they already have guys like Heiskanen and Harley? They have and Michelle. They got a good defense core.
We talked about it earlier too. It's just like the cap is the reason they need to get rid of Jason Robertson, which is it doesn't work.
But why would they want Noah Dobson? Would you think they'd want another forward that's younger and cheaper?
I don't know with Dallas. Dallas needs to. I don't know. Like I every year I've always been like, this is Dallas's year. This is Dallas's year. And every year they just get beat by the Western Conference Finals winners. Simple. Freedom Fund Adventure says here, TJ, when are you gonna man up and tell Doc Page to make her coffee at home? She can also switch to mud water if she wants to be healthy. To be an example for her patients. I don't even know what mud water is, but she makes her coffee at home. But sometimes you get coffee out. I don't drink coffee at all, so it offsets.
Let me tell you something. If her patients are drinking coffee, I got to question the parents there.
K Miller says here, agreed. Dobson's an 80-point defenseman with relevant front three lines.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he could. Robert Barra says here, we have no identity. I agree with that. We're not a tough team. I agree with that. We're not a skating team. I agree with that. We're not an offensive team. I agree with that. And we're not a defensive team. Ugh. Yeah, we have no identity. I agree with that,
We have
Robert.
one
100%.
identity. Sorokin's his name. That's your identity.
X-Pun.
Hello, everyone. Freaking late to the party again. Thanks, YouTube. Shake my freaking head.
Oh, man. Yep. Frank Grumpy.
Seems like Darche definitely wants to keep Dobson and have Schaefer and Dobson the new 1-2 punch eventually. That's smart. That's the smartest thing to do.
He does. He said he called Dobson core. My other problem is he called Romanoff the core.
Yeah.
That's my one problem. But Dobson is core.
We love TJ. Thanks, Robert.
I could have thought of something negative to rhyme with core. I would have, but I couldn't that quickly.
Tony Chi says, I love how everybody loves TJ now. Yeah. Brett W says, Phil's fiction? No. That dude's insufferable with his shtick, is what Mark Rodway says.
But Phil brings a different perspective, right? He's more positive. At least he has been more positive on the team. And it's good for me to have a comic foil.
However, was he more positive the last couple of years just because he wanted to just because he had to, make Islander fans with Lou Lamoriello when he knows we all couldn't stand him, so he had to be on the opposite end of that argument?
I don't care if he's a the organization. If I could be the fire marshal, putting it out.
Oh gosh. Jeremy Ford Hamlet says, who's your favorite Islanders defense pairing of all time? Where would Schaefer and Dobson rank if Schaefer is the pick and Dobson returns to his form from a couple years ago when he was healthy?
Potvin and Pearson. That was my favorite.
That's fair.
My favorite probably. It's going to be Schaefer and Dobson. I think it's going to be.
Oh, there you go.
Think about all the beer sales too at UBS they can do with Schaefer.
That's right. Does Schaefer still make beer?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, I didn't know if they went out of business.
If Schaefer could be what we see him, could you imagine Schaefer and Dobson offensively? It'd just be fun to watch. I mean, you talk about a team that's been so starved for offensive talent. It just immediately is different.
The shift every time they're out there.
Oh yeah. Frank says, I have a feeling the lovely Doc Page gave TJ an ultimatum. LOL. No, has nothing. I've been noticing comments like that as well. Nothing to do with lovely Doc Page. That's for certain.
Nothing.
Freedom Fund Adventure says Pellick and Schaefer are working out together because they go to the same guy. That's it. TJ, you're a massive piece of shit if you have Phil's on. I will stop watching if Psycho Phil is on. Big mistake. Phil is he legitimately believes what he's saying. I think sometimes most of the time
he's good for bringing up ridiculous analytic stats, which mean nothing. I just look at the points and what I see with my eyes. Maybe Phil's just not that smart. Freedom Fund goes, the show is probably coming to an end without TJ and bring on Phil's. That's if Grumpy killed it.
That's it. Grumpy killed it. You killed You killed the show.
So you got to put a comma in there.
He put a period.
He put a fucking period. Punctuation. Don't you
put a period?
You just can't have a random, just no spaces in between letters.
Grumpy, I think this is a good point. Freedom Fund says, TJ, get your dad an eye doctor. He used to be such a great reader. I know what's going on, Grumpy. Your reading is off.
You actually typed in legible words, Freedom Fund Adventure.
No, Grumpy, I think you do need. When's the last time you went to the ophthalmologist?
My eyes are fine, bro.
When's the last time you went to go see When's the last time you got your eyes checked?
December, like I go every year in December. And you know what they said? Your eyes are good. Freedom Fund Adventure don't know how to type like shit. That's what they said.
Freedom Fund.
I brought him some of his comments. I'm like, what the hell is this shit? What is he
Jeremy
just
Ford.
random? It looks like a monkey hitting a keyboard is what it looks like to me. How are you even
All righty, we're an hour, 2 hours and 30 minutes in. Stay on topic, please. I'm going to have to cut off the show here in a bit. So for Jeremy Ford.
What is more important for Darche, the draft and free agency or the trade deadline? It should be all three.
All three, which is something Lou never did. Lou never cared about all three. He only cared about trading.
At the deadline. Yeah. How many, well, you heard him this year. Draft picks? What? We don't need that. Oh, you want to rebuild for 10 years?
Imagine if he would have traded away our pick preemptively because he says draft picks don't matter. We won the draft lottery. I will say this year, I think it's the trade deadline's the most important. Going forward, I think it's all three. Got to be.
You can't mess up the draft. You cannot mess up the draft this year.
This is the easiest decision you could ever possibly make, by the way.
Yes. J. Robert Barra says, your last show will be bigger than that of Seinfeld. Have you ever heard of Seinfeld, TJ?
Yeah, I've heard of Seinfeld. Freedom Fund Adventure.
What social media does TJ do for these shows?
Limited. That's right. Anthony Rizzi says, stop with this Paul Coffey shit. He's a good player. That's it.
Paul Coffey plays no defense.
True.
Freedom Fund Adventure.
Darche and Waugh developed the list of coaches together. No, they didn't. They combined for their hires. No, they didn't. Stop the fake narratives. Those are direct quotes. I'm telling you, it was Patrick Waugh picked the coaches. Mathieu Darche had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
These are two men who've been associated with Waugh for many, 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 many years. Where Waugh made these picks.
Yes.
Mathieu Darche doesn't even know who they are unless they play pickleball.
Mathieu Darche didn't even have a relationship or ever talked to Patrick Waugh before he was the GM. I just wonder how well connected Darche is. Like, okay, you should be asking questions. That's all. Because I think what we'll see over time will explain it. Tony Chi says here, so Phil is replacing TJ. There's a lot of up eyes, and he says, I got a migraine from rolling my eyes.
Okay, Phil's not going to be on the show every week. He's not. Because, it's tough to commit to a show like this every week. It really is. But, he's going to be on it often. I'll just say that. And
Evel says here, can we always sign? We can always sign Hagens as a free agent in the future. I don't think he's going to take the route that Adam Fox did based off of his comments at the draft combine.
Definitely.
Whoever drafts him, he'll sign for.
Yep, Freedom Fund. He wants to get paid. Freedom Fund Adventure says here, Grumpy is so much like Lou, just BS, bald, and always does the laziest thing possible because he doesn't want to work hard, like bringing in his psycho like Phil's. # lazy, # bastard. Phil is good to have on the show because he disagrees almost with everything that Grumpy says. So at least you have some back and forth.
I think the show is better when you have two divergent viewpoints. I really do.
An open dialogue. That's what a podcast is.
Yep.
I don't think there's anyone who thinks that Grumpy can figure out how to run a podcast, says Tony Cheese. Yeah, he has no shot. It's going to have to be X.
He has no shot. Thanks for the confidence builder there, TJ.
Grumpy, I know you, Grumpy. It's going to have to be X who has to do the majority of everything.
Yeah, that's right.
Can X? Yeah, no, I know.
I'm just the talent. I don't pretend to be the nuts and bolts guy. I'm the talent. That's what I do. Drew says, Tony Cheese, Grumpy will run the show like how Lou ran the Islanders. Man, I'm getting no love over here. That's all right.
How you run it.
There you go.
The Freedom Fund Adventure says here, Baffi with his BS Property Brothers bullshit. I like the Property Brothers. It's true.
Absolutely.
That's hey, his daddy owned the Empire State Building, and he's been in commercial real estate his entire life. He's a property guy.
Now they own it. The two Malcolm brothers own the Empire State Building together.
Oh, they still do. Oh, they still do. Okay. So they just inherited that from daddy. Matthew S. says here, unfortunately, I'll miss your last show live, TJ. I'll be in the middle of the Atlantic, but this time without a significant other. It's been a rough 3 months for me. Sorry to hear that, Matthew. You guys have, in a very small part, helped me through this difficult time. Well, good to hear that, Matthew.
A lot from people. And honestly, that's why I'm going to try to keep the show going, because honestly, I feel like we have a lot of friends in the Islanders community. I don't think, because I always said when TJ left the show, show's over. But I just think there's so many people, some people anyway, who seem to get some enjoyment out of the show. I'm like, hey, dude, let's try to keep it going. What do you think?
Matthew's a great guy. Know him personally. And he's been going through a lot, but you'll be okay, bro. That cruise might be the best thing you can do for yourself.
He said he's going to be in the middle of the Atlantic. Are they dropping out of an airplane? Or are they out there on a boat? What are they doing?
We need Isles girl Kim here.
Well, I think we're going to try to contact Kim because I like Kim. Here's the thing. You're going to find out from me. If I like you, you're going to have a shot to come on the show. Okay. If I don't like you, no fucking shot.
The reason I was bringing this
you're
up.
never going to be on the show again.
Well, that's it. See, goodbye to me too.
This is Tommy's goodbye show now. Drew says here, I think at this point, TJ has a better chance of getting Kim's brother Michael on the show. I think it's more to do with the brand risk for her, Kim, rather than she hates TJ. No, it's been my lack of the reason I brought those up is because it's been my lack of probably follow up and making sure I'm doing my part. So it's nothing to do with Kim. I don't think Kim has anything to do with that. Nope, she doesn't like it. No, that's nothing to do with that. Pretty much said so on her show. Nothing to do with that. I think it's my fault. We had a show set up with her. I screwed up the time period, date wise. I messed it up. So anywho, I'm gone. I don't think Kim has any reservations about coming on the show. We like Kim. Kim likes us.
You're not on the show. She'd be more prone to come on it.
That's true. JK says JK says here, I want to echo Matthew S. We'll miss TJ. I don't agree with you all the time, and I bet we don't agree on a lot of things beyond the Islanders, but you guys make me think about a lot of things. You guys foster discussion beyond the obvious. I will try to call in on the last show. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks always for the support. And State of Survival says here, Bertuzzi was our last legit power forward. Marty Reisner couldn't cut it.
Yeah, he wasn't any good when he was with. He didn't become a good player until we traded him.
Well, remember, Bertuzzi and Milbury hated each other.
Yeah,
and that caused the problem, and they had to deal. And then he became a star.
Yeah.
Yep. Of course.
Freedom from Adventure goes. The past several weeks, TJ admitted he was duped and wrong on the Property Brothers, and he is so easy to brainwash. He is right back.
Well, I do think I thought the Property Brothers was much sooner, but now once I heard the hotels aren't done being built yet, they haven't even started really construction on that. The Property Brothers ideology is in full swing again. It's like the meal of summer. It's the dinner of summer. Mr. Janspan.
I've heard Martone compared to Todd Bertuzzi, big and skilled.
Doesn't have the mean streak that Todd Bertuzzi has. That's what I'm going to tell you. The difference is there. And he doesn't skate like Todd Bertuzzi.
He's not a good skater.
Bertuzzi could skate.
David Sean McDonald.
I'm going to say this again. This is the first time in decades we have owners that will spend. Ownership isn't the problem.
They spend. That's probably true. But they're too hands-offish. Now they, for the first time, are showing that they're putting some hands-on in this. But the 7 years, they didn't do anything. They just let that guy go run this team like a nut job.
I think they're not afraid to spend the money. As I've mentioned before, if they spend the money, the revenue is going to be high enough for when they sell. They could say, look at our EBITDA. This is why we could say, okay, it's simple as that. They want to keep it as competitive as possible in the short term. So when they sell, they can maximize the dollars they get. Simple as it gets. Frank.
Did TJ marry a California girl? How you doing, LOL?
I don't know what that was supposed to be. Maybe it was off a song of the Beach Boys. No, the Lovely Page is not a California girl. Freedom from Adventure says a couple times I said Cal would take a step, or I don't even know what this means. I said
again,
Colorado would take a step back.
Adventure.
Okay, relax. Colorado would take a step back. Grumpy and TJ. Not going to say it happened, but Tommy B says it, and it's a sheep follower and like the Pied Piper. Colorado's pick is going to be between 50 and 20. You don't trade that. I think that anybody could see that with the playoff performance, what they've done this offseason. They're kind of not in a good spot. Colorado is going to be directionless soon. The direction is going to be needing to rebuild. Vinny Smith says, hey, guys,
looking good. I think we're in for a bad couple of years. It's possible. It's okay, though.
I'm not worried. As long as the GM's taking the right direction, I'm fine with it. X-Bond. Oh no, I think I already put this one up here. Oh, she also wants the Islanders to take. She also wants the Islanders to take Hagens. Shaking my head. That doesn't shock me.
Because she's a true Long Islander type, and she's a young girl, and she wants to. Oh, the Hagens heartthrob from Hawthorne. Always got to be on the team. It's not about winning the cup. It's about the Hagens heartthrob.
I used to live very close to Hot Pock. Very close. Rick Roma says we're going by plus or minus to judge prospects now.
No, I don't think so. But when you're looking at guys, like plus minus is never end all be all, but it's important, right? If you're out there on the ice when your team scores more than you get scored on, I think that should be noted. I don't think it's an end all be all though. but I mean, his plus minus was really good for the limited time he played. Like when Devon Taves had that crazy plus minus the year he was traded to Colorado, and we're like, well, there you go. Again, it's not end all be all, but it helps. Frank says here,
First of all, the saying is be all end all. Don't say it freaking backwards.
Next comment. Get to read. Get to reading, Grumpy. Get your glasses on and get to reading.
Oh boy, Frank's yelling at you now, Tommy. Baffi, you don't know what you're talking about. No team, none is led but a defenseman.
By a defenseman.
Probably. All teams are led by stud forwards, period.
Okay, buddy, I'll say this to you very simply. 4 Stanley Cups, Dennis Potvin. Thank you. Yeah. I rest my case.
You got to have forwards too, but you have to be.
You do. You have to have a well-rounded team.
What are you learning in the Stanley Cup Finals? What are you learning? You have to be able to. You're seeing Ekblad, Seth Jones has stepped up. Who's the other guy? Forsling.
He's fantastic.
They're really solid on the back end. What's happening? What's happening to Edmonton when Florida gets in the zone? I mean, you don't score 6 goals at will because they're defensively out of position all the time.
And guys like Kulikov and Mikula are bruisers, and they're pounding them.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about him.
David Sean McDonald says here, Schaefer sounds like a mature young man. Kid's been through so much. I don't think we'll see him rattled much on the ice. Agreed. No. Agreed. Freedom Fund Adventure says here, TJ, the Islanders did not offer every pick for Murray. That was a lie that came from Columbus, probably by that bum Kekalainen. It was denied, disproven immediately by the player. That was a bust, and the player was a bust. Yeah, he was a bust, but I don't know. That was what was reported. So Drew says here, I don't know. I have a suspicion Hagens is going to slide to the second round like Atu Ratu. No shot. No. If he did, hey, I'm all on board.
Okay.
Frank says here,
if he slides into the teens, how do you not trade up for him?
True.
Frank says Sunex is good. He's a natural. He'll learn a team. I have faith. Freedom Fund Adventure says here, this show is going to die a painful, lonely death with Phils. Even Sun X hates Phils. No, he doesn't. I just thought it was funny.
He doesn't even know Phil. He doesn't even know Phil.
Frank says, Ron Grumpy, man, you can't get goal scorers probably of Misa's level, but you can get defensemen. All top teams are led by a forward. It's not one is led by a defenseman going to Colorado. It's including Colorado. It's a fact.
It's easier to get high-level forwards because there's so many in juniors. Everyone wants to be the star player on offense. Nobody wants to play defense.
How often are Cale Makars traded? How often are last time a top-tier defenseman was traded, it was Erik Karlsson. How often are those top-tier defensemen moved? Never. Very rarely. Like Alex Pietrangelo, when he was moved, whoa, it's a big one. When top-tier defensemen get moved, it's noticeable. It's noticeable.
Defensemen are easy to find. First pairing defensemen are like needles in haystacks.
And the Islanders have 2 of them.
Yep.
David Shaw McDonald says Dobson has had 3 coaches and countless D partners. If he has some consistency, I think he'll be back to 70, 80 points again. I don't know if he'll be back to that level, particularly if they draft Schaefer. But I could see him, if we had a little bit better forward group, maybe consistently a 60-point guy.
If you're 50 to 60 point a year as a defenseman, you're getting paid $10+ million a year. That's simple. Look at the comps. Jeremy Ford says here, have you seen Dickinson play? He looks like a mess in his own end.
Yes.
And from live games I've seen, he's great at the other end of the ice, similar to Bouchard with the Oilers. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's
similar to an 18-year-old still developing his game.
The thing is, too, if the Sharks have so much up top, where they're going to be controlling most of all the action, most all the games going to be played in the offensive zone, similar to Edmonton when it is like for McDavid and Draisaitl. He could be bad in his own end, but people are just going to remember all the great plays and the points he puts up. That's how it is. Rick Roman.
Dobson is saddled with a crappy partner in Romanoff, but hey, let's trade Romanoff for the 4th overall pick. What fits your narrative, I guess?
Whatever fits your narrative, I guess, is what he says. I'll say this. I think Romanoff can be moved. I think, again, San Jose's looking to start, Utah's looking to start putting some wins on the board. They've got a lot of young players. They've had a lot of draft picks. They need the production. If they don't, you lose the job. That's simple. And I think it's going to take Romanoff plus.
It wouldn't be Romanoff straight up for the 4th overall pick.
Take Romanoff plus, and I think they would.
Assets.
Yep. They traded away 2 second-round picks for Sergachev, who had to leave because Tampa could not extend him, and just after breaking his leg. So, Freedom Fund Adventure.
What about all of Dobson's poor playing when not with Romanoff? TSN, NHL, and so many former players and GMs have covered it.
I don't know if they covered that, talking about his poor play. I think it was a down year. I don't watch any Islanders telecasts, none, and none of the other telecasts at all this season. We're talking about Dobson's poor play. What they talked about was the good play of Dobson, how he struggled this year, and the good play of Sorokin is what they were talking about in every single telecast, and how we had hideous special teams. That's what all the other telecasts were talking about.
That about covers most of what they discussed, yes.
Yep. Hit like and subscribe. Absolutely. Frank says, yeah, hit the thumbs up button. Brett W says here, note to Son X, ban Phil's fiction immediately. Hire Coach Tommy Baffi. And Grumpy, please keep the show troll free. Hashtag ban Phil. Look at that.
Why do people hate Phil?
Because he's a provocateur and he does his job by provoking people.
That's so isn't that great? Isn't that what, don't you want that type of conversation?
Drew says here, breaking news, TJ's leaving the show because he's got his dream job working with Frank the Tank, Wee Hoopin, and Dave Portnoy. What a job that would be.
I heard Wee Hoopin lives in town. Is that correct, TJ?
He lives in Providence, North Carolina, right next to you, Grump. David Sean McDonald says here, yeah, Grumpy old man, you have a dedicated fan base. At least you recognize that. Not like somebody else we know. Is that Phil's facts he's talking about?
I don't know who he's taking the shot at. I don't know.
There's a lot of shots being handed out all over the place.
But here's the thing, I will let you know, I will defend the Islanders Never Say Die podcast against Phil and his ilk.
As you should.
You're gonna have a lot of his ilk coming around here, Grumpy. So you better be prepared.
I'll shut them all down. I don't give a shit. You think I'm scared by a couple of comments? Really?
Rick Roma says here, Baffi said Romanoff, Pajot in a late first rounder or late first in 2026. Yeah, Utah would hang up the phone if Darche offered that. Hold on, Rick, you think that Utah would say no to a 2026 first round pick, Pajot and Romanoff? I don't think so.
I'm not saying they would say yes. I'm saying they would definitely seriously consider it.
I think they would. If I'm Utah, I'd take that deal. For what Utah needs. How many more? Okay.
Utah wants to compete. The new owners want to compete. They have draft picks up the kazoo for the wazoo, the kazoo, all the zoos. They got them lined up for the next number of years.
Okay. When you look at what they've done here as of recent as well. Okay. Utah last year had two first round picks. In 2023, they had 2 first round picks. In 2022, they had 3 first round picks. In 2021, they had a first round pick. They've had so many first round draft picks, and that's not even including their seconds and thirds. And they have so many top three round selections coming up. It makes sense for them to try to say, we need to bring in veteran leadership guys who know how to win. They're willing maybe to do something like that. Pajot's been to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals runs. Romanoff shores up maybe some things on the defense, and they get another first-round pick, which probably they like to. Maybe they entertain that. I don't think Utah hangs up the phone. I think that it kind of works for both. No, Utah has a goalie. No, Utah could use a goalie. No, they've got Askarov. No, I'm sorry, San Jose Sharks do. Who's it in Utah? Who's Utah's goalie?
Vermelkin.
Yeah, that's right. You guys talk about how bad Romanoff is and Pajot's a third-line center. Yeah, here's the thing. I think Romanoff's bad. I think Romanoff was bad when he played for Montreal, but a GM was stupid enough to trade away the 13th overall pick for Romanoff straight up.
Because Romanoff he's a good skater. He's physical. He actually has a good slap shot. So teams do see their skill level there, and they feel that they can mold him into what they want him to be. So that is a projection of a guy who's still young that teams will be interested in.
Okay, if you're Utah, I'm just looking at Utah's draft for next year, 2026. They have 1 number 1. They have 3 number 2s, 2 number 3s, a 4th, 2 5s, a 6th, and a 7th. If you get yourself another first, you can control that draft with all those seconds and move up as high as you want, to get in a much better draft. You could potentially get a better player than Hagens next year. And then get the guys who can actually play this year.
Utah wasn't far off of a potential playoff spot this year either.
No, they're
looking.
The new ownership has said they want to win now. The Smiths. There's a lot of those Smiths up there in Utah.
Yeah. Again, like Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, Josh Doan. You look at all these guys are like 22 and under. Sergachev, hell, he's even 26 years old. Barrett Hayton, 24. They've got a lot of young players who contribute to that team.
They were better this year than last year.
They could want Adam Pelech instead of Romanov. You don't know that.
Right. Could be anything. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, I could see that being a partner because they're looking to add players that help them contribute or to be, to take the next step now. Drafting guys aren't going to help them move the next needle to say, what does it take to be a real competitor and to win? They need to bring guys who've done it before to teach the young guys that they're all that they've been drafting for the last 4 or 5 years to teach them how to do it. That's what I think. If we were in Utah's spot, I'd say we've had enough freaking draft picks. It's time that we start bringing in guys like our Johnny Boychucks when we did that, when the Islanders had the kid line and all the young guys like Johnny Boychuk makes sense. Your Nick Leddy's makes sense because they can teach the young guys what it's like to be a true professional. It's the natural maturation of the rebuilding process that they're in. Time to take the next step. But let's wrap up our show here today. 2 hours and 40 minutes in. Wow, a long one for certain. But we always enjoy having Coach Tommy B on, and we enjoy talking Islanders. Coach Tommy B, what do you want to say before we wrap up our show?
Well, I'm going to start by just the Islander fans. What I've been telling you, it's got to be all about Schaefer, and it's got to be all about patience for the next year or two, about getting rid of some of this junk and working on drafts and draft picks, which our last general manager did not care one thing about. But as far as the show, I said it's been over 4 years I've been coming on as a guest with you gentlemen, and it has been an honor. It has been a privilege. I'll always be a supporter of the show. Grump, that you're taking over. Of course, I'm going to wish you the best and hope that it's the best it can be with you. And for you, TJ, I mean, really, it's the first time you ever talked to me. It's great to have built a friendship with you. And I think you've done a wonderful job all these years with this show. You have. And I'm just honored and appreciate that you've thought enough to let me come on as a guest. And I want to say thank you, and I wish you the best in everything.
Well, thanks for coming on, and thanks for always being an advocate of ours, and we appreciate all the kind words, and thanks for always coming on. I mean, you always fit us in the schedule too, so thanks, Coach Tommy B, for coming on as always. And we'll still be checking in. I'll still be watching shows. I've got more time to watch shows now that I'm not doing a show. That's for certain. So, Grumpy, what do you want to say before we wrap things up here this evening?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't. From TJ, the grumpy old man, Tommy Baffi, and in the background, even though not today, because he was doing some studying, Son X.
Typical X, not showing up to work. He better straighten his shit out, Grumpy. Anyway, thanks so much, guys, for watching the show. We'll be live with you guys, not this Saturday, but next Wednesday. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. Thanks so much, Coach Tommy B. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for the engagement. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great Father's Day weekend.